Alright, YouTube claims that I'm live. OBS claims that I'm live. If everyone is in agreement that I'm live, now we can start doing an audio check. This will be loud. I apologize. Alright. Apparently, somebody said I'm live, so I'm going to trust that person, and we'll more or less begin right now. Yeah, I don't know why Brassfax thinks this is so damn difficult. Turns out you just hit 2 easy buttons, and it just sort of happens all on its own. Alright, people are saying they can hear me, people are saying audio is good. It's still my voice you gotta listen to, so the audio is never going to be like amazing. Just go ahead and get used to that right there. Also, I bet the clicking is going to be really loud because the mic's right next to the mouse, so sorry. Alright. You guys know I'm retired from computers, so I don't really know how this stuff works. Can't figure out how many people are actually here right now. It says views 1. That's a good sign. At least 1 view. Well, to my beloved single viewer, I guess like wait a minute before people show up. But in the meantime, we're going to enjoy this Henry Weinhard's Private Reserve, which is no longer Henry Weinhard's. I think it's like 10 barrel or something, but it's as good as we can get. Sacco will probably not be showing up tonight. I think he's out hunting. Last I saw him, he heard or saw a mouse, and he's on basically DEFCON 1, so. Alright, this is probably enough people to actually get started. So before we really start, I'm going to do some quick little plugs here. Let's see if I got my scene transitions set up correctly. I'm not a streamer, man. Hey, look at that. It transitioned. Go ahead and get your jokes out right now. Just a quick thank you to the sponsors of this channel, Blue Alpha, Venture Surplus. They're keeping me alive and well fed. So thanks to those guys. Second set of thank yous. Thank you to everybody who supports this channel on Subscribestar. We're going to start with a bunch of questions from the Subscribestar people because they gave me a big list of questions and I picked like 30. Yeah, pretty decent little roster of questions. And without Subscribestar people, there would be no show. And now, hang on, wait. I have another button here. Yes, dude, this is so pro. I think I could probably do this job like full time. It would be awesome. All right, we're going to start with questions from Subscribestar. We'll get into YouTube questions later on. Yeah, we'll get into Raid Shadow Legends later on. I was really hoping that like by the time I got popular enough on YouTube to have people like asking me if I would take their sponsorships, that Raid Shadow Legends would already be dead, but apparently it still exists, so that's a real bummer. Not the timeline I was looking for. So first question from, I'm going to have to pronounce all these names. You guys are forcing me to read your terrible usernames out loud. Beppis Bad Bongos. Is there any advice you would give to somebody who wants to start making their own gun/night vision content on YouTube? The number one recommendation for making videos is to just make the videos and not worry so much about them. The number 2 advice would be get ready to invest all of your own money for a long time before it starts to generate any form of revenue, and don't expect it to ever make a profit. So if you just want to make some cool videos on YouTube as like a side hobby, you know, that's always fun. And the great thing about having a lot of people making videos is that if you are able to either like get those videos seen via, you know, Discord or forums, or if people are actually able to find them with searching, which doesn't really work anymore, then, you know, you get more data points. So even if you're just reviewing the sort of stuff that everybody else is reviewing, or if, you know, you're testing lasers against each other, maybe you've got that one video where you're testing 2 different lasers that nobody else has tested next to each other before. So yeah, I don't know. Follow your dreams. Question number 2 from user number 11DBA7A8. If you could redesign the Smith & Wesson Sigma SD9 for a new generation, what would you do? All right, once again, all right, here we go. We're trying for 2 windows. Let's see. Aha, look at that. It worked. So the Smith & Wesson SD 2.0 is already, I think, the thing you're describing. There's not really a lot of ways to make guns cheaper anymore, because guns are already really damn cheap, because they're still about the same price as they always have, but inflation has made them surprisingly affordable. So, like, what are you going to do when you want to design a cheaper alternative handgun? Smith & Wesson has the M&P 2.0 series, which is their flagship, and then they've got the SD series, which they just updated slightly, and now it's, you know, a pretty competent handgun, but there's stuff that they had to do to actually get it into that like price point. So simpler slide serrations. They don't do the fish scales on these, because the fish scales is a bunch of small like little operations, so these have big chunky serrations. No optics cut. If you're like, hey, we got to make a modernized extremely budget pistol, you're probably just going to have to say no to the optics cut, because that's a lot of work, unless you're Palmetto State Armory. So I guess another thing you could take inspiration from, see if we can find a picture of it on the internet, because we have internet access. The Smith & Wesson Model 910 and Model 915, these were cheaper versions of the Smith & Wesson 3rd Gen automatic. So like you got the 5906, which is the flagship pistol that, you know, police and civilian shooters would use. And then you've got the much cheaper 910 and 915. The whole point of that was that, you know, what can you do to make these things cheaper? So they reduced slide milling. So instead of having nice curvy slides, the slides are pretty blocky. They had really simple sights. They did not have ambidextrous control levers. The grips might have been even shittier. Like, I don't know. Basically, you just have to find ways to cut money out of the budget. And on a modern handgun, like, I don't think they're so expensive that you can really make them a lot cheaper. So I don't know if that answers your question. I think they already did design it for a new generation. Yeah, it's the 2.0. And people were mad that it didn't have an optics cut, but they also really wanted it to be cheap. So it's going to have to be both of those things. Badger, if best way to train shooting under nods when you don't have access to public land. Also, is Sacco proud of you for reaching 200K? Sacco does not understand screens. I've tried showing him the screen before. He doesn't see it. I was told that some cats and some dogs can see screens, but I don't know if it's actually working or not. To train shooting under nods when you don't have access to public land, some really kick-ass ranges will let you do night shoots. They'll host it. Maybe, you know, if you like become friends with them, or you like, you know, if you're a member a long time, you volunteer and they like you, you might be like, hey, is there a way we could shoot at night? And the answer is almost certainly going to be no, but it might be yes. The other thing you can do is just try to train all your nod stuff in the aggregate. So instead of like wanting to go out and run around and shoot, maybe you go to some place or range where you can just shoot stationary, and then you also spend some time hiking around under night vision, because that'll get you a lot more used to moving without falling over and hurting yourself and breaking your expensive nod, that kind of thing. You know, if you literally cannot actually live shoot under nods, you can dry fire under nods in the garage or something like that, and still also go out and hike with a little bit of non-threatening public land trespassing. You can hike around under nods in a lot of places. Not that you should. Roger H. Should I get a 308 or any other short action caliber, or a 300 Win Mag bolt gun for practical use, aka cringe SHTF prepping? I don't know if 300 Win Mag and practical can exist in the same universe. 308 is not a great cartridge. It's a rapidly dying cartridge, but it's also still probably a better prepping cartridge than 300 Win Mag. So I don't know. It depends on what kind of SHTF that you've fantasized, because I think a lot of people would like the SHTF scenario to be like complete grid down bedlam, which means they're going to have to go hunt for their food or whatever. And if you really think that's going to happen, then yeah, maybe you do want a hunting rifle. You know, maybe you want a 22 long rifle and many bricks of ammunition. But that's probably not going to happen either. White Russian. Oh, clever. Yeah, I don't know. All right, it's a very long question, but instead of reading the entire thing, it's basically about the resurgence of the popularity in belt kit. Most of that, I think, was just people looking for something else to do. It's a classic, like, gun tuber or gun influencer ADHD, where you're like, well, I have a chest rig that I like. Well, what else can I do? Maybe I'll try a belt rig for a while. Not that I need the belt rig, but I'm just bored of my chest rig, but I also don't want to just try a different chest rig, so I'm just going to go ahead and try. I'm going to go back to Alice gear, and then maybe I'll try to justify it to myself and my audience by pretending that Alice gear was actually the best all along, and they never should have gone to the LVB 88 stuff or whatever. The part of this question that I thought was interesting was that the belt kit has been effective in Ukraine, which is weird because the Ukraine conflict has been predominantly trench warfare, and there's got to be something better than a super wide belt line in trench warfare, because belt kit makes you very wide, and trenches are very narrow. So I suspect that just because they're using belt kit in Ukraine doesn't mean that it's their favorite thing of all time. I think you really want to be armored to the tits if you're going to be running around in a trench, and then probably just 3 mags on your chest is about as long as you're going to last anyway. I have heard some people on Tactical Instagram saying, like, well, our next global conflict is probably going to be in Southeast Asia or whatever, where it's going to be very hot and wet, and then nobody's going to want to have stuff on their chest because they're going to die of heat stroke, and then maybe belt kit comes back. Another user, 0337D8C7. Oh, badass. We got our bunch of stormtroopers on Substar here. I had heard somewhere that you enjoyed revolvers. I don't know where you heard that or who you heard that from. I was wondering if you were a fan of older revolvers, newer revolvers, and if your interest was specific to one brand. I don't dislike revolvers. I think guns are fun. But the only revolver recently that I've thought was like, oh man, that's so cool, I definitely got to get one of those, was the new, the Heritage Roscoe. Taurus owns Heritage. They put this thing together. It's basically just like a classic detective special type pistol with like a kind of a shiny blue finish instead of the cheaper, matte, anno aluminum. I think it actually is steel frame, so it does have a blued finish as opposed to a lot of the like 85 ultralights, which are alloy frames. So yeah, I don't know. It's just classy. It's got the super thin little grip on it. They're not super fun to shoot. Like, I think what I would kind of like to do at some point is just get a full-size 38 revolver, which could be like a Ruger Service 6 or Speed 6, or like a Taurus Model 82. Full size, but you just shoot 38, hold 6 rounds. They're comfy, they're enjoyable to shoot, and 38's not like the most expensive. It is pretty expensive. It's probably slightly cheaper than 45 ACP. But yeah, I don't know, like, I cannot imagine myself owning more than like 2 revolvers. And I think I already have 2 revolvers. I have a Ruger single 6 and my old Taurus 85 ultralight. And that's plenty of revolvers, man. Minuteman Medic, what is one type of essentially new FUD lore that exists that you absolutely hate that gets parroted? For example, carry handles being ideal for passive aiming, quad rails being the best hands down, etc. This guy fucking gets it, man. Or girl. Yes, this is all very, very true. Passive aiming with a carry handle optic barely works. A lot of people seem to think that it will, I guess because they haven't tried it. The thing that's different between a carry handle and a modern tall red dot riser that everybody uses, which is like 193 or 226. The carry handle is like 3.5 inches. It's much, much taller, and that's much worse. Also, the optic sits further back. Also, the carry handle gets in the way of where your night vision goes because it sticks 5 to 6 inches out in front of your face. So even with an AR stock at full extension, you're going to be mostly just clobbering your nod against the carry handle and the optic and not actually able to shoot. And these are things that you would think people would just know. Like, if you actually had a carry handle gun or night vision, let alone both, you should just be able to, like, visualize it, rotate the apple in your head, and be like, oh yeah, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't actually be a good idea. But I don't think people are capable of that level of intellectual curiosity. So, yeah, that fucking bothers me. Number 2, quad rails, same kind of story. Every justification you've heard for quad rail was invented after the decision was made to purchase the quad rail. So it's all post-hoc justification. None of it has anything to do with the benefits of a quad rail. And it's okay if quad rails are like your thing, or you just like, I don't know, you've already got the quad rail and you're like, well, I'm certainly not dropping $40 on a Arisaka M-Lock light mount, so I guess I'm just going to stick with the M75 thumb screw that came on my Surefire. Okay. It's fine. Don't change stuff if it's not broken, but don't, like, buy broken stuff. No offense. Another nameless user, man. On your 716i video, you mentioned not setting it up for night vision use due to weight. Do you think a heavier rifle would be well suited to a DIR-1 and Surefire Vampire combo over not having night vision functionality at all? The reason to use a DIR-1 and Surefire Vampire combo would be mostly cost, not so much weight, because it's a slightly more expensive weapon light and a fairly cheap laser, and then you got to get a switch for it and pair them both together, and then you end up with a system that's not very good, but it is affordable and relatively lightweight. If money was no object, then using the DIR-V would be a fantastic laser for like the 716i, because it's very lightweight, it's low profile, so you can see right over the top of it with an ACOG or an LPVO. You'd really enjoy that. But it's like a $1,900 laser, so that's a pretty big ask. But yeah, like if you're willing to drop that kind of money on that kind of a laser, then it really reduces the overall encumbrance of the setup. You get a relatively lightweight suppressor, you get a decent optic setup, and yeah, you could totally set up the 716i. It's one of like the very few 308 or battle rifle type rifles in general that I think you could set up properly and not ruin it. It's just going to cost you a freaking ton of money. The way that I had my 716i set up for a bit that I actually really liked was with an ACOG TA110, so that's an LED ACOG with the RMR mount that's on the forward part, similar to the TA02. So LED ACOGs have forward-mounted RMR bosses, which is preferable for passive aiming. Still not perfect because you're still hitting the back of the ACOG with your nod, whatever. And then I just put a Vampire M600V on there. And it's like, well, technically it's got everything. It's got the white light, it's got the IR light, it's got the passive red dot, and it's got the magnified combat optic. And it was a pretty good setup. I just didn't use it, so I decommissioned the whole thing. So that's the way that I would, if I actually wanted to keep shooting my 716i, like night vision and stuff, that's the way I would set it up. But now I think it's just kind of a fun 308. Lord Big Gulp. Oh, man. Don't mind if I do. Congrats, Hop. Thank you. If you had to start from scratch in today's gun/accessory/gear market, but with the resources you had closer to the beginning of your GunTube career, what are some of the things you'd splurge on and some of the things you'd skimp on? So I'm gonna just modify the question because I think it'll be more fun. Going back to like when I started buying guns, I put the majority of my resources into handguns because I liked handguns more, and I thought a pistol was a lot more practical thing to spend my money on. So back then, my AR builds were just terrible Reddit tier cringe. Like, first AR build that I completed was a 7.5 pistol, and we're getting back to that, by the way. Don't you worry. But that was just because I thought, oh, fire, cool, like big fireball, that'd be hilarious. But I don't need an AR for anything because I carry a Glock, not an AR. So, if I was back then and trying to like buy and set up an AR, knowing what I know now, but with like those, similar resources, yeah, like I probably would just spend my money smarter instead of building meme ARs, with like short barrels and big brakes on them. Because I was like, oh, actually, I probably should just build a nice, simple, practical AR, which would be, an arrow lower and then some kind of upper, man. Like, yeah. I'm never gonna, there's certain things that no matter how much money I have or whatever like free shit people offer to me, there are certain things that I will never splurge on because I just think they're terrible. Like I don't know, never gonna have a Radian ADAC lower or an ADM or whatever. Like I hate those. It doesn't matter if they're expensive or cheap. I just don't want them at all. So yeah, be relatively simple. Also, if I could take the knowledge that I'd go back with, then I could buy like an Aimpoint ACO and be pretty happy with it. As opposed to like buying a Romeo 5 and putting a new mount on it, or buying a Vortex red dot and then discovering it's got refresh rate worse than an N64 game. Ringer, congrats, Hop, well deserved. I don't know about that. Is an LPVO, HLX with pressure pad, Magpul bipod, BCM, foregrip, and an RC2 Mini too much on the end of a 16-inch AR? Yes. It's way too much shit. Yes, bipod plus LPVO, you could justify that, but I gotta ask maybe why. BCM foregrip, that's free. That's like an ounce and a half. That's free weight. I don't care about that. HLX, heavy light. I don't know. RC2 Mini, heavy can, even the Mini is 15 ounces, I think. So, because 50% of the RC2 Mini is mount, and then there's like a baffle and a half at the end. And then the RC2 full size is just ever so slightly heavier. Yeah, it's way too much shit, man. I don't know. Take the bipod off and put it in your backpack. Gun fixed. I'm sure you appreciate the RC2 Mini over the full size, though. Plastic Guy. Hey, there's a name I can pronounce and recognize. Because it's come up in BrassFacts server, can you explain your thinking on going to irons on your carry guns? Yeah, I mentioned this at some point, and people were like, wow, you're a FUD now. And you're right. I've decided to become old. What basically has been happening is every single pistol that I shoot for review has a totally radically different grip angle because every company wants to put their little stamp on the industry. So either be like 18 degrees, hell no, 19 degrees is where it's at. No, 20 degrees is where it's at. No, 22 degrees. Oh, we got a big old hump on the back. Oh, we don't have any hump at all. It's totally flat. So everybody's got their own idea of what a grip should feel like, and they're all wrong. It's still just Glock 19, Gen 3 or 4. But I got to shoot all these review guns. And then every single gun that I get for review now is optics ready because of course they all are. And if you are reviewing an optics ready gun and you just leave the optics cover plate on, the comment section just fucking loses their shit. They're like, but what is it like with a red dot on it? Same as everything else, man. But basically that means that all of the guns that I shoot for reviews are weird grips that I don't like with red dots mounted to them. And then I put a lot of rounds through those, and then it makes it hard to switch back to shooting a red dot on my Glock. I carry a Glock 19 or a Glock 43. So now I just carry with iron sights because I'm still old enough to have spent most of my pistol shooting rounds and time on range with irons. So I'm still just better at, I can still draw and acquire irons on my Glocks, no issue. No amount of shooting a Taurus GX4 with a red dot or a Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 with a red dot. No amount of that stuff is going to mess up my sight presentation with irons on a Glock. So I carry irons, and then I shoot red dots for work. I know, skill difference. Whatever, man. MC Hammer 45. Miss the old Hop who periodically showed off old milsurps. Any chance we might see a random blast from the past on occasion? I miss the old MC Hammer 45 who used punctuation. Just kidding. I don't think you ever did that. Yeah, I still have milsurps that I want to show off. It's just kind of hard to find the time to go out and really just have a nice, relaxing, low intensity shoot with guns that I've owned for years. Hard to see like the excitement or the angle in that, right? I've got a lot of new stuff that I want to test that I'm curious about and stuff to review. And it's like what I would love to, go out and shoot like my Yugo Mauser, my M44 Mosin, and just our SKS, Yugo SKS, and just have like a nice range day. The problem is it would also be really tempting to go out and shoot that stuff and just not record it so that I could have a nice time. So I could just have a nice little range day. But then you guys wouldn't see any old Milsurp content. So I don't know. I still have plenty of old like 80s and 90s handguns and stuff to do. Several models of Star Pistol. I have to finish this series that I've been working on for like 6 years. And a couple of new acquisitions from the 90s that I think you will really like. And that stuff will continue to be mixed in. But yeah, I don't know. Do you guys want to see me shoot a Yugo Mauser? The front sight's all kinds of jacked up. It's almost not even worth putting rounds through it. Blue Lone Wolf, thank God, another username, another recognizable user. Hop, what second gen Smith & Wessons should I be on the lookout for so I can sneak in the middle child of 3? I'll go ahead and spoil this. Blue already knows this because he and I share a special connection called Gunbroker. I recently picked up a Smith & Wesson Model 659, which is the Reservoir Dogs gun. Of the second gen Smith & Wessons, there are not as many that I'm interested in. The first gen goes without saying because there's, what, 2? Model 39, Model 59. Second gen is when the brand exploded and became impossible to kind of like track. So the cool second gen Smiths, I think, are the 639 and 659, which are from Reservoir Dogs, and the Jesus, now I'm forgetting what it is. Is it 645? Somebody will know. It's the one that Sonny Crockett carried in seasons 3 and 4 of Miami Vice. I gotta time out this guy because he does this every single time. Put user in timeout for the rest of his life. Goodbye. 645? I don't know. Anyway, the one that Sonny Crockett had in seasons 3 and 4 of Miami Vice, the TV show. I had for a while the third gen 4506. Yeah, 4506, which he was carrying, I think, in the final season of Miami Vice, although mine was rounded trigger guard version, not squared trigger guard, so I don't know if it was actually the right one from the TV show. And that gun sucked, so I did not keep it. That's the reality of second and third gen Smith & Wesson automatics. They are iconic, but they're not very good. No offense. I'm gonna have to pick up the pace on these. I think we're like halfway through the Substar questions, and I still gotta get to YouTube. This is gonna be a long night. It's not gonna be a long night. It's only been 30 minutes. Can you people just keep your freaking clothes on for like a second? Come on, man. All right. RYCHMC, Reich MC, whatever. It seems like you and Askfax as well don't do kit or gear reviews or setup videos very frequently anymore. Just not interested in them, or do they do poorly with viewers, or what? They all kind of run together. Like, I don't know what chest rig Brassfax is using now. It's probably still the Velsys hybrid, or maybe it's his Bees triple thing or whatever. I just been repeatedly falling back on the Velocity Systems hybrid quad with a radio pouch and a extra, I don't know. I don't even know what was on there. Tourniquet and IFAK, I guess. Yeah, I mostly just stopped messing with that stuff. Battle belts as well. Like, I have 2 battle belt setups, but I almost never use battle belts because they're just, like, they're just not comfortable or all that practical. All right. You guys have shown an inability to behave yourselves, and that means Randy is moderator now, and he's going to start fucking killing people because he's a psycho. Hope that worked. There we go. All right, you done it now. Now you have to be nice to Randy. So yeah, I haven't messed with my battle belts at all because they're fine. I just don't really use them. And then my chest rig, yeah, I did recently build out a new chest rig setup that I'll probably will make a video about. Using a Velocity Systems Molly placard thing and then some pouches so I can carry more ammunition and less like tiny bullshit, which will be part of the, the video, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of annoying to like set up a whole chest rigger plate carrier, shoot with it for a couple of days, and then try to like squeeze some content out of that. It's like, what even? Who cares? Cave Rat. That's a nice profile picture. Is your name Chelsea? Yes. Real question as well. Oh, never mind. I rescind. Have you been experimenting with your plate carrier setup recently? Nope. I have a plate carrier setup. It's all fine, and I don't wear it, so it's fine. As the king of Restless AR Syndrome, do you have any tips for overcoming Restless AR Syndrome, or is this just an eternal curse? It is an eternal curse. It's a mental disorder. It's called OCD, and you're just going to live with it for the rest of your life or until you kill yourself, whichever comes first. One thing you might try to do is paint your gun, because then you'll realize that if you take something off and then add a different thing, you'll have to paint that, because otherwise it would be the only non-painted part of the gun. And you probably don't really want to have one not painted part, so then you're gonna have to paint it, but good luck getting the paint to match perfectly. It's probably not gonna happen, and that'll go for every single part on the gun. Probably about the only thing that you will feel comfortable changing at that point is the barrel, because an unpainted barrel inside of a completely otherwise painted gun is, kind of that's a freebie. You can get away with that one. So my solution to this was, is a solution to my solution. I stopped painting my guns because I knew I wanted to change parts on them, and then I'd just be annoyed forever. So I don't know. Yeah, there's not a lot you can do about this. Window Shopper, what are the future rare or weird optics or lights in your opinion? Videos on items like the SRX, blah, blah, blah. Oh, so basically what are the current optics, or accessories in general, that will be looked back on as a weird experiment or mistake in the future? The one that always comes to mind is the Burris TMPR prism. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. I think it's already been discontinued, so you should try to get one now while you still can. They basically took their 3X prism, and then they put 3 mounting hard points on the top 45, 90, 45, whatever angles, that had a power takeoff system. So whatever you mounted to them could draw power from the battery on the main body of the optic. And it's an idea that everybody always asks for. They're always like, hey, why can't I just attach a light and it'll just draw power from this, the gun or whatever? People really want that idea. And then you give them that idea and they are like, oh shit, I didn't realize it was going to be ugly and stupid. I guess I don't want it after all. Whoops. So that's, you're going to look back on that and be like, hey, this is the thing that people asked for. How come they didn't buy it? Yeah, because it turns out it wasn't actually any good, and none of those people should have been asking for it in the first place. Also, the only accessories they had for it were the Fastfire 3, but it was a special version of the Fastfire 3 that could draw power from the optic. So it was like a Fastfire 3, which was already old and bad, but it was even worse because it had a whole bunch of electrical contacts on the bottom. And the other accessory was a red visible laser, the 5 milliwatt civilian legal red laser. So that was completely useless. What did you actually want to put on there? I don't know. Minute of Man. Wait, did this guy already ask a question? I don't know. SPR summer is coming to a close. Night vision FOMO has come and gone, and barrel length arguments are brought up in jest now. What is next in the community cycle? As mentioned before in the Brock and Hot Power half hour, do you think we are still in a burnout or slump phase? Ooh. I think this is just the cyclical nature. We're going to just start cycling back to the stuff we already did, and I think we already have seen that beginning to happen. We've now, in the last year and a half, we've lived through the wait, ACOGs are actually super based. No, wait, ACOGs actually aren't all that good. Wait, what are you guys talking about? ACOGs are super based. It's pogoing back and forth faster and faster. The cycles are increasing in speed, which is not a good sign for the internet. What's next in the community cycle? My prediction, and I think there might have been another question coming up later that has the same kind of vibe, but my prediction is that everybody's got suppressors now, so they're going to get interested in piston guns again, external piston guns to make the SOTAR guys happy. and then they'll, relearn the lessons that were learned over 10 years ago and be like, oh wait, piston guns are not actually really any better suppressed. I'm sure there's a very good physics reason for that I'm sure people have explained at length and people haven't actually listened to. So yeah, that's my prediction. Everybody's going to buy piston ARs because they got these new cans, and they're like, I'm sick of getting gas to the face, and they're going to shoot their piston AR suppressed, get gas to the face, and be like, what the hell? The internet lied to me? No, the internet of today lied to you. The internet of 15 years ago told you the truth, and you just ignored it. User, another made-up hallucinatory name. How do you maintain such a slim figure, and do you fear twink death past age 30? I'm already past age 30, so I have already died. What's the best way to get rid of or sell unwanted gun-related parts? I have so many grips, stocks, and other things I've tried, and it's taking over my garage. Tax swap is a good way to get rid of old gear, but if you're the kind of guy who goes and tries to sell like an individual Magpul grip on tax swap for like any amount more than free plus shipping, you're not going to be popular. Same goes for like any buy-sell community. Like, okay, used optics, sure. Like an LPVO that you tried and didn't like and is still in perfectly functional condition, and you'll sell it for a decent discount. People will love you for that. If you're like, can I get somebody to please buy my old Magpul OD green trigger guard? I have a black one now and I don't need the green one anymore. And those cost like $9 normally, and you're like, I'll sell it to you for $6 plus shipping. It's a waste of time, man. Good Lord, we're never going to get through these. Jet asks, what philosophical questions do you think are the most helpful for yourself and others to ask regarding both products and content consumption? This is such a high-level question. I think I should probably get a degree for answering it. I'll answer the side about content consumption. You should ask yourself if you're looking to be entertained or informed before you watch a video. And if it looks like it's the wrong kind of video, you should not waste 40 minutes on it. Things to always keep in mind. The longer that YouTube videos are, the more ads run on those videos and the more money they generate. Therefore, if somebody's making a video super, super long, it's probably just so they can fit more ads and sponsors in it, and it probably is not actually more informative than a shorter video. Keep that in mind. If, however, you're like, I want to sit down for some nice, comfortable entertainment, then you definitely want a long video, because you want the video to be long enough for you to cook dinner and eat dinner, because you can't eat dinner without YouTube. That would be unthinkable. So if you're like, I just want some nice entertainment, go ahead and find yourself a very, very long video that is inconsequential to your overall life and has like cool music or, like funny jokes in it or something. If you're looking for information, then you look for much shorter videos. Production value is the complete antithesis of information. I'm sure I've railed about this before. I really like, people making free little documentaries on YouTube. It's great. It's a great use of YouTube. The problem is that the free YouTube documentaries are starting to turn into like television documentaries where they add all these interstitials and all these like previously on and all that stuff. So the content is exploding in size, which is why we are now in a productivity crisis, because people are like putting 12 hours of YouTube watch later, YouTube content under their watch later playlist every single day, and you don't have that kind of time. Homer J, congrats. First question is, who do you think you are and what gives you the right? Wow, so hostile. Second question is, it seems like you and the boys have a pretty well thought out camping setups. We see glimpses in all seasons and would like to hear about your preferred setup and how you walk the line between comfort and SWC, size and weight constraints. Yeah, I think all of the Nova Group dudes, all the guys that we hang out with, they're all pretty good at camping because we've been doing it for a long time. I've been camping my whole life and backpacking some of my life and doing this for a while. Comfort and size and weight constraints. When I go backpacking, I err on the side of size and weight constraints because otherwise I'll have a heat stroke and die halfway up the mountain. When I'm on a shoot, camping out of my truck, it is 100% just comfort. Like 2 sleeping pads. We got like a foam ground pad and like a super thick thermarest above that, sleeping bag and blanket, nicer pillow, that kind of stuff. I don't know if it's a preferred camping setup or whatever, but once you camp for a while, you start to learn like what you can live through and what you can survive without for a couple of hours, even in the woods. and also realize that most likely if the situation gets really bad and the weather turns, you could just go home. You don't have to just like stay out there and be like, well, this is do or die. I'm in my sleeping bag, and if it's not warm enough, I'll just die. You're like, oh, well, I guess it is too cold. I'm going to go back to the truck and get a blanket or something. The stakes should be pretty low. It's 2024. I say that as an old man, though. SigFan963. That's a bold proclamation to put right in your username. With you and the rest of Nova Group getting AK curious, have any of you considered the Galil Ace Gen 2? Sure, it's ridiculously heavy and serves no point. Ooh, you're really undercutting your own question here. Yeah, we all considered the Galil Ace Gen 2 for about a minute and a half. Then we realized that its naked weight is 8.5 pounds. The height over bore is insane. And the handguards are this long and the barrels are this long because it's all European contract guns are like that. So yes, we considered it and then realized that's not a good idea. So no. Euler271828, or is it Euler? I can't remember what it's pronounced. How bad would state gun laws have to get for you to seriously consider leaving Oregon? I know your mag ban was stopped in court, but it isn't hard to imagine Oregon going the way of Washington or California, not to be too morbid. That is morbid. Living in New Hampshire, one of the few free states in the Northeast for the time being, I worry about this and wonder exactly where the line would be for me. We recently had, it's called House Bill 114, which was on the books in Oregon, has been forestalled for now, repeatedly goes back and forth with judges fighting other judges, depending on what counties they're in. If 114 passed, it would force me out because my whole job would become illegal. So that's a pretty clear line in the sand. Every year there's a new law in the books, and every year it passes by a slightly wider margin as we get more and more imports from California. Washington already fell. They had the same thing. Like every year, Washington would have a bill on the books, Oregon would have a bill, or on the ballot rather, and then finally Washington's really bad one went through. Oregon's slightly not as bad, but pretty bad one went through and then was forestalled and seems to be sort of dead in the water. So yeah, it's probably a matter of time, which sucks because I like living here. It's my favorite state. User numbers and letters garbage. Would you recommend the BRT Optimum 11.5-inch barrel for use with a traditional baffle stack suppressor like the RC2? Will I still run into overgassing with that setup? Yes, you will. Especially with an RC2. RC2 is a gassy little pig, because that's how you make a suppressor quiet, is by making it gassy as hell most of the time. So yes, there really is no barrel choice that isn't going to cause you to be seriously overgassed, except for like the KAK Industry 11.5 mid thing that I'm going to blame Focus Trip for that. It's all his idea. Focus Trip was like, hey, could you guys please make this for me? And they were like, sure. If you want to 100% suppress it. But it's an RC2, meaning it's got a whole mount system that you probably paid a lot of money for, so you probably do want to be able to take it off. So yeah, just go ahead and get yourself some way to control gas. It could be a bootleg carrier, it could be an adjustable gas block, whatever you like. Sliver, I really enjoy your video essay style and wondered if you'd ever do more longer content. Yes, I already attempted to answer this one. I would regularly enjoy a deep dive into some subject that interests you. I don't think many subjects interest me. I don't think any of them would deserve a deep dive that would be longer than like 20 minutes, because then you're just looking for stuff to talk about, probably. I love you, Hop. Say it back. Well, your profile picture makes you look like a woman, so I love you too. All right, we're getting close, guys. We're pretty close. The YouTube chat is hilarious. There's a lot of people who probably came in here by the summons of LARPtube to ask kind of the same questions over and over again. Not that I don't appreciate them, I just, I would appreciate some variety, is what I'm saying. Another user person, what are your thoughts on the LSW light support weapon concept, like red right hand, recce, LMG stuff, etc.? Do you think they're a good idea for the apocalypse? No. They are a terrible idea for the apocalypse, but they're really fucking cool. And if you thought that maybe you and your buddies were going to have to fight off the Russian paratroopers tomorrow, then you probably would want one of those. But again, this is sort of like the bolt action question. You know, like what's the practical SHTF application of 300 Win Mag? That depends on what you mean by SHTF, because everybody's got their favorite version of it. Yeah. 2 questions. If you're interested in one of these uppers or like gun builds, 2 questions to ask yourself. 1, do you have the ammunition to support it? As in, like, you have thousands of rounds of ammunition spare, and you're going to have to use a lot of ammunition to shoot the thing and test that it's actually going to work, and that you're going to, like, understand the concept of having a dedicated guy in your group of friends who's like the support weapon guy. That's a pretty big ask. Also, you have to ask yourself, do you have enough ammunition and the ability to shoot it fast enough to overcome the capability of your regular ass AR? So if you've got a regular government barreled AR with a normal ass gas system, like a 16-inch government barrel mid-length, and you shoot your entire combat load through it at semi-automatic, even very fast semi-automatic rate of fire, it's still going to be okay. So why make the upper 3 times heavier and twice as expensive when you already cannot overcome the capabilities of the upper you've already got? Which means you're going to need some sort of rate increasing system, and that's a whole messy rabbit hole, because all the ones that you can get aren't good, and all the ones that are good you can't get. Not to be too negative. Give them the bird. You always a cat person? I wonder if this means, were you always a cat person? Or if it just means, like, are you always a cat person, or sometimes you are not a cat person? When my cat brings me a severed mouse tail, I don't feel like a cat person. But no, I'm an animal person. I always liked animals. And the reason that I have a cat is because the cat came inside and was like, I'm going to live here now. And I said, okay. Director Fury. I really hope that's not supposed to be furry. Congrats on 200K. It seems like always just being nice to me. Well, that's lame. You're always weight conscious in your builds and have said you wouldn't want a pencil barrel on a GPR. Could you explain why this is? Yeah. The barrel, the standard like government weight barrel on an AR is not like super heavy and like messing with you. So shaving it down for pencil barrel, it's going to heat up faster. Then you're going to be like, wow, I just shot half a magazine and now my handguard is too hot to hold. That's kind of annoying. There's also like really good pencil barrels, or like pretty damn good pencil barrels, like the Faxon stuff, where they have like cryo-treated, stress-relieved, whatever. Like, they've done all the stuff you're supposed to do to make the metal really good or something, and they don't have a heat-induced zero shift, but they will still spread faster than a thicker barrel, is my understanding. So, GPR, general purpose rifle, not like some super ultra lightweight slick thing that you want to carry around and maybe like hunt in the backwoods, or like carry on a hike as like an emergency, you know, like a camp rifle or something. It's a fighting rifle in theory. You probably don't want pencil barrel, just for all the, you know, all the different downsides. And then also, yeah, if you don't have a suppressor, it's not as big of a deal, but when you're going to want to put a suppressor on there, you're like, well, I'll save weight on the barrel because I'm going to add weight on the end with the suppressor. Not a great idea, because then you're going to have a massive amount of barrel flex because of the weight of the suppressor. So just generally speaking, no thank you for pencil barrels. Also, question, any chance you'll make patches in the future? No, I don't want to make merch, because first of all, I have no ideas for what merch would look like for this channel, because this channel has no iconography. And second of all, someone would probably just wear it and do something bad. Oaktown Pole. Hey, there's a name I recognize. Outside of range, fun, competition, or stature, do you think full-size pistols are essential? I don't think that most people find that a Glock 17 shoots that much better than a 19. Maybe some people with like really big old hands. So what you're getting with the 17 is a tiny bit more barrel, except you're not, because nobody does that anymore. They do 45s instead, so it's the same amount of barrel. Or 19Xs, whatever. And 2 extra bullets in the magazine, which you can get with a longer magazine and just stick it in the Glock you already got. So, yeah, I don't know. Full-size pistols, like, I don't know. Glock 34, same thing. You should definitely watch videos from Ben Steger. He has a couple of Glock 34s he shoots all the time, and people are like, oh yeah, Ben Steger totally recommends the Glock 34. He did a video about them talking about like, hey, just so you know, guys, I shoot these because I bought them years and years ago before I had red dots, and I just don't want to get rid of them. But you shouldn't get one now, which is very funny. Do as he says, not as he does, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Full-size pistols, why bother? RDF 1557. Oh man, I think we're almost done here. Super excited for you to have hit 200K. As I predicted a while ago, I think my channel is going to top out at 220. That's about as many people as could probably stand me. What weapon platform do you wish was easier to modernize? I know you have a history with the G3, but is there another platform you wish to modernize? I don't know, man. There's the AK and the FAL, I think, are the other two big ones that people really try to make work, even though they shouldn't. The FAL's a total disaster. You start bolting huge chunks of aluminum to that thing just to sort of get more parts on there. Also, the magazines don't exist anymore because they all got converted into SCAR magazines back when FAL mags were plentiful and SCAR mags were expensive. And the AK, I don't know. The AK's the second best platform for like a general type of rifle, so that's not bad. Second place is pretty good. I don't know, man. It's just like any military rifle. They're just not important enough or not common enough. Like AUGs, Galils, or whatever. You're like, instead of modernizing a Galil, you could just modernize an AK. That kind of thing. The Galil Ace is barely modernized. So yeah, no, I've had my share of all the the modernized old platforms. G3 is still kind of the best one because it actually shoots pretty good, unlike most AR-10s. Question from Helix: opinion on metal-framed striker pistols originally designed as polymer-framed. Also revolver content anytime. Answer the revolver thing earlier. Metal-framed striker pistols converted from polymers. So Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 metal, Walther PDP steel frame. I can't think of any more. The Walther PDP steel frame does shoot pretty good, but also it weighs 1 billion pounds. The Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 metal is a weird one because it basically, to me, shoots the same as the polymer frame version, but also instead of a steel frame, it's an aluminum frame, so it doesn't actually weigh all that much more than the polymer frame version. So maybe there's some general idea of rigidity, but people used to claim that the plastic frames would flex more, so plastic frame pistols would feel like they had less recoil because the frame would flex. I don't know if any of that shit's even true. I don't see the point. I think they exist because people like metal, and they're like, I wish my gun was more metal. Last question from Window Lick. I saved the worst for last. Be honest, did you pick the Gep gun or the Trank crossbow on your first playthrough? You're going to be really disappointed in me, man. I took the sniper rifle because it seemed like the best gun, and then the third or fourth enemy you kill, this is about Deus Ex, by the way, for those of you who are not cool enough to understand what we're talking about. The third or fourth enemy that you kill in the first level of DX has a sniper rifle, and then you're like, oh, it's just a free gun I can get right now, and then you immediately restart the game and take the Gep gun. Yeah, there's your answer, Fishbulb. Alrighty, we won. We did it. We learned about the Smith & Wesson Model 910. We answered some questions. Alright, let's see. How do I get back to... There we go. Okay. Now I have to look at chat, which is going to be a fucking nightmare. Oh shit, Window Lick's here. I didn't know he was here. I'm going to make him a moderator. Get fucked, dude. So now you guys have to choose between trying to make Window Lick happy and Randy happy, and Window Lick and Randy hate each other, and they have completely opposite approaches to things. Therefore, you're basically fucked. What a terrible collection of questions. Do you eat yogurt? Sure. Tillamook makes a good yogurt, I think. Oh, people are asking for the face reveal. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but that was very clearly a joke because pixelating photos is non-destructive. So if you want to see past the pixelation in a picture, you just have to squint your eyes a little bit and then your brain does the rest. So if you look at the thumbnail of the stream and squint your eyes a little bit, you'll be able to tell that it actually was me the entire time. I didn't think that would fool anybody, but I'm overjoyed that apparently it messed so many of you up. $170 versus $193. Nobody does $170. That sounds like some hipster bullshit company. All right. Now I have to go look at super chats because there were a lot of those. Beppis, Bad Bongos, the first questionnaire from the Subscribestar, just gave $1. Well, oh, and there's a balloon on it. That's kind of redundant, dude. The Range, have a coffee. Wait, can I? No, I can't display these. I can't display these because I don't have that level of technology. I'm sorry. I should have foreseen this would happen. No, I literally don't know how to show you this. Take my word for it. These are real questions that I'm really reading. I did not make these up. The Range, have a coffee on me. Hop, congratulations on 200K. Well deserved, buddy. Cheers. Cheers. $10 should purchase me 3.5 coffees, so thank you. Or maybe I'm drinking the wrong coffee, I don't know. Focus Trip says, buy a case or two on me. Also, feet reveal, win 500K. Yes. You also asked that in Substar. I neglected to include your question because it was just like, hey, toe reveal, please, and I don't allow my feet to be observed. So, thank you very much, though. Hope to be back on your show sometime soon. And I don't think I'm making it to 500K. I think about 220 to 250 is going to be the top end. Silicone Sword. You look like the dude from Say It Isn't So. Hang on, wait. We can do this. We can do this. We're going to learn a thing together. Watch. Man, I hope Safe Search is on. Holy shit. I didn't really foresee that. I don't know. This person's not a dude. Oh, wait. Is this guy? His ear is missing. I haven't had hair like that since I was in, like, 5th grade. Say It Isn't So, Bon Jovi. Is it a Hall & Oates thing? All right. I'll take your word for it because I don't know which guy you're talking about. Stormin Norman, the Mormon, says, are you illegitimate offspring of our Mormon all-father Nut and Fancy? No, I thought I was. I used to think I was, but it turns out the timelines don't quite match. So, yeah. Unfortunately, not related. Also, eye color would be wrong, so... Helios1 asks, is an Arkin EP8 with a Holosun SCRS piggybacked whack? I don't think that's whack. That sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good to me. The Arkin EP8 4-16. Oh, I forgot I can still Google shit. This is so cool. Yes. 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 Whoa, the picture is fucked. Arkin EP8. So I made a video talking about like budget optic alternatives to higher dollar. How is your website meant to work? Come on. Yeah, I was talking about like budget alternative optic stacks, and I was using a Bushnell Engage, which is now a discontinued model. So 4-16 first focal plane. But if I had to recreate that setup now without the scope that I already owned, I think the EP8 would be a really good candidate for it. Similar price point, probably very similar glass. They say it's a 4 to 16 by 44, which is just the type of scope that people make for inexpensive prices. The only thing that I don't like about Arkin is that they're trying to trick you into thinking you're getting a deal by giving you a coupon code on their own website, and it's all like, look, it's everywhere. So they're like, it's a $400 optic. No, just kidding, it's a $300 optic. You're like, okay, so it is a $300 optic, like for sure. It's always a $300 optic, and this number is invented. I don't like that practice. I think that's pretty lame. But other than that, I mean, I like this scope. The reticle's nice. It's illuminated. It's got parallax. It's got the proper setup of turrets. You've got the exposed top and the cap side. So, yeah. Nice. Firefight with 2 eyes, 101. Vortex Crossfire 2 scope, good or bad? Maybe basic. I think you're talking about the Crossfire 1 to 4 with the V-Bright reticle. It's like a floating center illuminated dot. It's probably one of the cheapest LPVOs you can get your hands on that is actually from a real company. But I'm still going to venture a guess that it is bad. RTT, Guns and Gear. I assume that stands for Rooftop Tent. Keymod Supremacy. If only because Keymod sling mounts are awesome. Because the hole in the Keymod hole lines up perfectly with the sling swivel, and it sits super flush. That's very cool. AZGKFT. Oh wait, I'm pretty sure that's Gookfoot. Okay, yeah, I can only see on YouTube. It's probably my settings. I can only see usernames and not display names. I got a Sig Tango 6T SFP on sale for $500 off to try an LPVO out again. How bad did I do? And if so, make fun of me. Thanks. Depends on which one you are talking about, because if that's a Tango MSR 1 to 6 and you spent $500 on it, you're in real trouble. If it is a, God, I hope it's the Hellfire, the FL6, or is it DVO, Direct View? Damn. It's not easy to find, but there is a version. There it is. All right, this reticle here. Wow, what a terrible low-res picture. I can't remember what they call this reticle. Charlie's Custom Clones, come on. Jesus. This is, yeah, the FL6 Hellfire. This is the proper Hellfire reticle. It's kind of hard to buy this one. If you buy the SFP version of the Sig Tango 6T from most websites, you're going to end up with the MOA or milling reticle, which is just a basic grid, so no range finding, no BDC features. The advantage of the Hellfire is that it has the super bright LED dot. But the reticle you want is this one, the SVPS. Hopefully that's the one you got. I don't know. Caveman, hey Hop, does this look or smell infected to you? Yes, amputate immediately. Prod, alright, saw you had a Streamlight stock mounted on your helmet in a video. What were your thoughts on it? Excellent. It has all the features that I want to put onto my helmet in terms of lighting. So task lighting, supplemental like umbrella illumination, and an IFF flasher. It's bad at all those things, but it does all of those things, and it's inexpensive, and it's small. And it's dual fuel. Dave and Chaz. No message. Thank you. Firefight again. Oh, wow, this guy's talkative. The Vortex Defenders CCW has had the frequency updated. Would you look through one next time at Dusto? Yeah, they fixed it. I'm waiting for them to make a version of it that I actually want to buy. Like if they do an RMR pattern version of the Defender CCW or ST or whatever it is. I'm not going to buy the Delta Point version. I'm not going to buy the XL. It's way too fucking big. But yes, I appreciate that they actually did, they got roasted for that refresh rate thing because it's been a problem for way too long. And then they were like, oh, okay, well then we'll just fix it then. And it's like, yeah, man. I guess now's as good a time as ever. DV, please post more AK content to troll the autist. Don't worry, it's coming. And it's also going to troll the PSA fanboys because my PSA K104 has not been my favorite gun of all time. Jay, what is your take on why a lot of gun shop employees have sticks stuck where the sun don't shine, so much gatekeeping and smugness? I don't know. Finding a good gun shop is really, really difficult. And I'm pretty happy that I've found a couple in my area that are good. I suspect, like any retail employee, you have to deal with the worst type of humanity on a daily basis, and that's not fun. Compound that by the fact that gen pop knowledge about guns is lower than it is about other stuff. So the people coming in are not just uninformed, but perhaps misinformed, and also probably like nuts. You probably get a lot of crazies. So they're probably all just miserable all the time. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of like, I know some gun shops will have like relationships with specific brands or whatever, where it's like, yeah, we agree to sell a lot of your product, or we get certain kickbacks for your product. So it is possible that you're not getting that person's honest, unbiased opinion. So when you see like a gun store employee say some shit and you're like, that seems dumb or like untrue, it might be that there's a financial incentive to recommend bad, untrue stuff. And they're not actually dumb enough to believe it. They just need the money because it's their freaking job. So I don't know. Wolf Brand Leverett would love to see a review of the Auto Noise Barrier TAC headset. Not a lot of reviews considering them over contacts due to the mount. Yeah, the mount system on the autos is awesome. The headset itself is mediocre. If you can get it on sale, it's a lot cheaper than contacts. But MSRP versus contact 5s is pretty comparable. The headsets themselves are a little bit bulkier. Audio quality is not great. And mine have had like a lot of feedback issues. Like it's something about them improperly shielded or something. So radios and other stuff cause a lot of feedback. But I really love the mounts, and they come with gel cups, and they're very comfortable, and they are effective, and they're comms capable. So they're okay. Firefight 101 again keeps saying stuff. What a talkative gentleman. Can you scroll through the Zentauron store and see if there are any rigs, belts, or bags that look nice to you? Just hit all products and sort by price until you don't feel like it. I love Fleck. I feel like this is what... Oh my god, it's foreign. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I don't mind taking cookies. I'm in incognito mode on a browser I never use. Alright, so these people are clearly from Deutschland, which is fine. That's a good song. This is looking really European to me, but you're right, Flecktarn is cool. That plate carrier looks bad. That plate carrier looks bad. Yeah, so all these plate carriers look really bad. But they are in Flecktarn. I do like this one. I do like our country is in such shambles that even our like emergency personnel, non-police or military emergency personnel, need to be up armored. Frankly. Yeah. Wow. Okay. The plate carriers don't look very good. That one's okay. It would take way too long to go into detail about why I don't think they look that great. But it looks like they make a lot of cool stuff. And I don't remember how euros work, but they seem like they're pretty expensive. So I imagine they're like pretty well made out of real materials. Cyanide. I recently snagged an Aimpoint Comp M3 for $400 with a 193 mount. Ooh. Bravo. What would be a good magnifier and magnifier mount to pair with it? None. Don't bother. It'll look weird. The Comp M3 magnifies decently well, but no, still don't buy it. I mean, it'll look so strange because you're going to have to use like a hyper modern 193 mount, but it's a Comp M3 and it's not supposed to do that. But if you must, I guess ScalarWorks 193 and a Aimpoint 3XC. Justin Martinez, how tactical do you think a home defense weapon should be? Rifle, caliber versus pistol. Whoops. Uh-oh, I clicked the wrong button and now it's broken. How tactical do you think a home defense weapon should be? Rifle caliber versus pistol, white light versus NV capable, optics versus iron, suppressed versus unsuppressed, etc. Also, you're my favorite lesbian aunt. Oh, that's so nice of you. Yeah, home defense weapons should probably be medium tactical. I think that there are a lot of guys who are going to like see you with a weapon light at the range and be like, you can't hunt with one of those. What are you doing? But then if you're like, it's my home defense gun, they're going to be like, oh, that's totally understandable. Continue. So yeah, definitely put a light on it, because when are you at home most of the time? It's when you're asleep at night or during the day, I guess, if you're third shift. Optics versus irons. If your home defense situation goes so sideways that you need backup irons, just accept death. Suppressed versus unsuppressed. Probably suppressed would be nice. NV capable, though. I don't know, man. Well, we've all seen Patriot games, I hope. We all know that there is an application for night vision in a home invasion scenario, but I don't think that's a must for a home defense weapon. Maybe if you're like on a ranch in the middle of nowhere and it's super dark outside. Okay. That'd be kind of cool. Beeve. Oh, shit, I scrolled. All right, I said not some nice stuff about brass facts earlier, but it turns out YouTube is really difficult. Beeve, can you recommend ammo and grain weight for an 11.5 AR build? It's a Geisley Super Duty upper. Yeah, just M193 is nice. You could go ahead and buy like a shitload of that AAC 77 grain OTM stuff because it's very similar in price to like M193, and it's loaded hot and it's 77 grain, and in our testing it's actually surprisingly damn accurate. If that matters to you. The benefits of 77 grain ammunition in terms of terminal effectiveness are poorly understood. Dan Allen, Griffin Armament Gatelock Hub Mount Review. Nope, I don't think I'm going to do that. Let's go look at a picture of it, I guess. Is this one of the ones that goes onto an A2 birdcage? Because, yeah, okay. No. This shit carbon locks like crazy. We used one of these things, the B&T version, on that H&R A2 government carbine at Thunder Ranch. We put like 2 mags through it, maybe less, and then it was so carbon locked we had to beat it off with a hammer. So, Focus Strip's going to clip that out of context. Nobody tell him. Friend says, hello, hop blop, I'm a little late and a little gay to the Q&A. Do you do much hunting at all, and with what? Not anymore. I used to duck hunt, but I don't... The taste of wild duck is very bad. So it was kind of just an excuse to go out and enjoy the winter, the river in winter. But the shotgun that I used was a Turkish Winchester SXP Black Shadow, which is a very cheap shotgun, and I abused the hell out of it. I would let it sit in the bottom of a canoe in like 2 inches of muddy water, and then I would take it home and leave it in the case for a week before remembering to clean it, and it never rusted, never had any issues. Surprisingly tanky shotgun for a very cheap Turkish shotgun. I think the barrel was Parkerized. I think all the internals were black chrome, so seemed to have done the trick. I think the list is getting longer faster than I'm going through the list. This sucks. It doesn't suck. It's nice of you guys. It just sucks because I think I'm a little too easily distracted because of my brain problem. All right. Just to make my my attention deficit worse, I think what I'm going to do is open up a second copy of the chat so I can see the lives and the supers at the same time. And I just closed my... I closed my most important tab. This is great. This is so good. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Okay, it's good. Everything's fine. We're all fine down here. How are you? All right, sick. I've got 2 chats at the same time. This is going to be awesome. I'm not going to get distracted by this at all. Also, every time you guys write hop in the chat, it shows up in highlighted orange, and my attention is drawn to it. But like Brassfax says, streaming is so easy. It really is the easiest job in the world. I'm so glad I'm doing it. Banana Watch, do you think contract overrun guns exist because they don't know how to count and made more than the government wanted, or are they the ones the government refused because of QC problems? Ooh, that's my new favorite conspiracy theory. Yeah, no, I believe that now for sure. Not the counting thing. Yeah, the QC thing, that's a fantastic idea. No, I think contract overruns is probably... You spend... All right, now you guys are just ruining chat. Oh, fuck. All right. Just be nice to him, Randy. No, what I think happens is you get a contract and they're like, we're going to buy 2,000 guns. And the next month they're like, could we get 2,000 more guns? And the next month they're like, could we get 2,500 more guns? And you're like looking at your projections and you're like, okay, next month is at the very least 2,000 guns, but probably 2,500 guns and maybe 3,000 guns. And so you're like, all right, let's just go ahead and make an extra 3,000 guns. And then they don't call you back. That's my theory. That's the way that I think of it, is like, we totally thought we had this thing on lock, and then they stopped buying it, and now we don't know what to do with them. Which is, I think, where all those SIG 516s that hit the market came from. They were like, we're selling so many SIG 516s, the government will never not want these. I made that up, but it sounds true, right? Stormin Norman the Mormon, more E-log vids win, Roland. Probably never. They take too long and they're not that fun. Primo's Hunter, thoughts on SBR versus bullpup. The problem with SBRs is that you probably SBR'd it because you wanted to be inside of the compliance window. And then you might want to go out of state. And if you already decided you were going to comply with this gun, you have to file paperwork to allow you to travel out of state with your SBR. But it's so annoying, you probably won't want to do it. So that's where I think like a nice 14.5 pin and weld, or maybe even a bullpup, is kind of nice. A shorter gun to travel with. I mean, Brassfax and I have spoken really extensively about bullpups. All of the things that you know are bad about bullpups. I'm going to switch. You don't need to be seeing this Griffin gate lock anymore, right? There we go. All the stuff that you think is bad about bullpups isn't true, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff which is even worse that is true. So bullpups are still kind of not great. Brassfax is saying, put the pistol brace on it. Yeah, there's like maybe some loophole where you can just put the pistol brace back on the SBR and like still travel with it. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that one. Ask Reno May. He's a lot better at reading into those things than me. Amon, what's your opinion on PC or belt-mounted knives? I've never found a way to comfortably carry a knife on a belt. Some part of that knife is just going to be poking you all the time, whether it's the pointy part of the knife or the handle part of the knife, so that sucks. Plate carrier mounted knife sure makes you feel cool, but you also have to wonder like what happens if some guy comes around the corner, runs face first into you, you both fall over, and then he's like, oh shit, free knife. Because it's like right here on your shoulder, and like, oh wow. Wow, that's really close to my throat. So yeah, no, I don't do that. I have a plate carrier mounted multi-tool, which technically has a knife on it, but by the time somebody figures out how to deploy the knife on a Leatherman Wave, I think it is, I'm probably in the next county already. Hunter, hi Hop, thoughts on the new Bodyguard 2.0? Let me refer you to the TFB TV video that came out about it, and or you can watch it on x.com, formerly Twitter. It's insane. I don't know. Actually, I do know how they did it. I have a theory as how they did it. So basically, it's the same size as a Bodyguard 1.0 or an LCP or an LCP2 or an LCP Max, but it holds 10 rounds instead of 6, and then it just like shoots way better than everything. And all they really, I think, did was extend the length of the slide a little bit so they can get an entire striker system in there. And I think that the slide is long enough on the Bodyguard 2.0 that they can actually have a properly long cam path recoil system. So the thing that makes Browning short recoil guns not recoil as much as straight blowback is that the barrel goes back a little bit, then tilts a little bit, then keeps going back, and it follows this cam path. And on guns like the Ruger LCP, it technically has a cam path, but it's extremely short and very linear, and so they kind of shoot like blowback guns, or just like they shoot bad. I think that the Bodyguard 2.0 fixes that, because it's just longer and so there's enough room in there for a proper Browning short recoil tilting cam path unlocking system. I don't know. I made that. That's also something I made up, but it sounds so good. Like a lot of this stuff, you know, you just sort of like make it up. You're just guesstimating, and then it's so plausible that you might as well believe it. That's my opinion. Andrew Vachon. Sorry I'm late. Congrats, by the way. Cost not a factor. Is there any reason to not run a Flow 556K? I own 2 and have considered trying out an RC2, but I don't think it's honestly worth it. Also, I bought an AT-PLC with a villain diffuser for 1,100 thoughts. That's not a good laser, but that's a good price, and they don't make them anymore, and it looks like a PEC, and also full power lasers are hard to use most of the time anyway, so that's kind of sick. As for the suppressor question, cost is the biggest factor in preventing me from recommending the Flow 556K, because it is like an $1,100 suppressor. You already own 2, and you bought an AT-PLC. You seem like a man of means, and you're like considering buying an RC2, which is another $1,000 suppressor, right? So the RC2 is like probably not going to be that much better than the Flow 556K, except most likely in signature reduction. The RC2 is like, it just has this like little whisper of flame out the front. It really is impressive, and it is a quiet suppressor, at least in my experience. But the benefits of a Flow 556K is like no tuning the gun, virtually no effect on like recoil, so the gun shoots crazy soft, no gas to the face. Yeah, this is a brass facts question, man. You asked the wrong fucking guy. I don't think I'd ever buy an RC2 myself. Surefire can. Their mounting ecosystem. The can is taken up by so much complicated mount stuff. It's basically like chemo you can't get away from. So yeah, I'd say stick with the Flows. Those are really damn good cans. They just cost a lot. Mace fell out the window. Oh, I get it. It's a Star Trek joke. Sup, Hop, I want a bomb-proof optic for a build. I don't particularly like ACOGs, so I'm looking at used L cans. What's everyone's beef with a 1.5 to 6? Oh my god. I see lots about 1 to 4, but not much about 1.5 to 6. Why are people asking me brass facts questions? I'm not the same guy as brass facts. I'm white. So the problem with 1.5x is that it's literally the worst amount of magnification. It's the worst possible amount of magnification. You cannot do worse than that. So you're buying an L-can that's fixed at 6x? I don't know. That sounds like a pretty bad idea to me. Also, they're not bomb-proof because when L-cans get dirty, they lose 0, so that doesn't hardly count as bomb-proof in my opinion. Yeah. Bomb-proof optic for a build. EOTech EXPS 3-0. Try to get one that was produced recently. Jonathan Gragnano, is every Glock you own technically a Roland Special? No, because I don't go by that name anymore. In all serious, I just bought a Bodyguard 2.0 and love it so far. You mentioned you have an LCP. Do you pocket carry often? Congrats on 200K. No, I don't pocket carry ever. It's so infrequent. Like, I keep the gun around and the holster and everything because, like, maybe someday I will carry pocket again. Like, it's a nice ability to have, but so infrequent. It's very easy to appendix carry even a Glock 19 size gun when you're, first of all, my size. You wear baggy ass clothes and you never have to tuck your shirt in because you don't have a job. So yeah, pocket carry is like such a niche thing for me. If I ever found myself pocket carrying again regularly, I would buy a Bodyguard 2.0 yesterday. That thing is awesome. COD posted a bunch of random numbers. It's probably like a Steam key, or it's the numbers from the show Lost, or it's hexadecimal. I don't know. I think we are now playing an ARG. I'm going to copy paste this stuff into the chat so you guys can go play this ARG that this guy just linked. Boink. Oh boy, chat's really, really hard to follow. Cool. Jesse Sando, hey man, have any experience with the Beretta ARX 100? Please don't, dude. Please don't fucking do that. Unless you've already got one, in which case, awesome. I don't like it unless you have one, then I think it's cool. Alright, there we go. Fixed it. I got one on trade years ago, just have it as a spare to run suppressed. Kind of like the The Beretta ARX 100 sort of like foresaw the Bren 2 and all these like new guns where they're like, what if in order to make it lightweight we just used a lot of plastic and then made the handguard really short? I don't think it's like actually a good gun, but it is pretty cool if you have like, you know, it's like from that old school like ACR days as opposed to the new school where everything is starting to turn into like a gross homogeneous monolithic upper extravaganza of extruded aluminum. So yeah, I've shot an ARX 100 like 5 rounds, and it sure do be a gun. Firefight, Crossfire 2, 3 to 9 by 40 good. Re-asking because I'm dumb. Okay, so not the 1 to 4. Please don't buy Vortex Crossfires. I do think, I am a budget conscious guy, but I do think that if your budget for scopes is really that low, maybe you should not be buying magnified optics because there's got to be something better for you. 3 to 9 is pretty easy to get right, though. Like almost any company can make a decent 3 to 9, and they shouldn't really cost much more than $100 these days because it's such an ancient piece of technology. Con Deer, can you answer my Substar question? Parentheses Gliswold. Oh my God. Now I have to go look around. Was this a really, really dumb question? No offense, but was it really dumb? Or did you ask it somewhere else and I didn't see it? And is your name the same? Oh my God. It's a good thing I'm so good at streaming, otherwise this would be really difficult. I don't see your question. I'm looking for your question. I'm looking for a question that has anything to do with Gliswolds and or Glocks, as they are commonly referred to. No, I'm not seeing it. If you could just post it in the regular ass chat, then hopefully somebody will see it and let me know where it is. Because otherwise I don't know if I'm going to find it. And of course Brass Fact said something about the LCAN, so now we're just going to talk about that forever. Alright, I'll try to keep an eye out for that question. Phoenix Ostapowich sends Canadian dollars, which I don't think are even real. What do you think the gun industry is currently lacking from a design standpoint? A lot of what's currently out there is min-maxing or lacking, as so few companies are willing to take risks on designs that push the envelope. Interesting question. I don't think the gun industry is lacking for much right now. I assume that it's just become so lucrative that they can actually afford like all the best engineers that they want. So there's a lot of cool stuff out there. I don't know. I mean, it seems like every part of the industry. So we got the gun design side, we've got the optics side, and we've got the like suppressor side or whatever. If you just want to break it down to that, design is not lacking, man. Like even you think like, what do you really wish was being made? It's stuff like the Holosun laser or the OGL or like a good, powerful, but legal, but accessible in terms of like cost, and you can actually go out and buy one at the store, kind of like laser. Plenty of those have been designed, they're just not being produced. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna say that no, they're not lacking from a design standpoint. They're lacking from like a production standpoint or materials, supply chain issues, if that's even still a thing, or maybe the FDA is just being a bunch of assholes. I don't know. The designs seem pretty good to me. Sometimes it's hard to produce designs, even if they're cool designs. And I just scrolled again, and now it's all gone. Moon Thrasher, conglorat... Oh, jeez, dude, you spelled that weird. Congloraltion. Hop, have you read Parable of the Sower / Parable of the Talents? I don't know if you're one for collapse novels, but they're the bomb. I don't know how to read anymore. I used to read a lot, and now I can't. But, no, I was going to say... I'm going to look those up and add them to my reading list. But why bother? I will not get around to them. I've been reading the same book for like 2 years, and I read like a page or two every time I take a flight. It's called Empire of the Summer Moon, I think. It's a very good book, very interesting, and it's still just impossible for me to get through because of my brain problem. Primo's Hunter, Rammstein or Rammstein, I don't know, I'm the wrong kind of German, I think, for that, is better than Metallica. Okay. I wouldn't ever think to compare them to Metallica, but I don't think you're wrong. I just think you're, being unnecessary about it. Tet Gusen 15, will you ever do an AK-545 or AK-556 modernizing tactical build? No, absolutely not. 545 is a dead cartridge, and 556 belongs where it originated, in real guns, not AKs. The only reason I would think for you to, from a practical standpoint, i.e. modernized, buy an AK platform rifle is because you think there's something to 7.62x39, and you want the best way to shoot 7.62x39. And there's not a lot of good ways to shoot that, because 7.62x39 ARs are a bit jank, or you've got something like the CMMG Mark 47, which is very expensive, and it's basically a 308 that shoots not 308. So there's some reason to consider AK. But that's only if you think X39 is like the caliber, and it's increasingly not the caliber. So, Scotty, do you like running a K can on the AK-104, or would you prefer a full-size can? I would prefer a full-size can. This is one of the many times where I wish I bought a Resonator R2 instead of a Resonator K. Also, then I would have more back pressure, and I would definitely need to tune that gun. Like with a KNS piston right now, I'm just shooting it untuned, and it's okay. But yeah, longer can would be nice on that. And it would still, I don't think it would ruin the gun. I think it's a pretty decent little package right now. So adding another couple inches and ounces, who could say no? Bastion Cash, have you heard that hard-headed veterans are making a tactical hard hat? Well, that's the sort of cringe behavior I expect from that company, so checks out. What's a better 1 to 10 LPVO, Credo or Primary Arms GLX Raptor for a 14.5? There are no good 1 to 10 LPVOs. The Credo looks like it's decent, but it's, 14.5. Like if you're going for an SPR, like it's not a combat rifle, it's not a combat optic. So you've got a first focal plane Milrad grid or whatever for your precision rifle, and you just want to be able to also shoot at 1x. That's a really tenuous proposition. I mean, like, what's better, a $2,000 1 to 10 Credo or a GLX Raptor 1 to 10? The GLX Raptor's got to cost like what, $450, $500? So they're just not in the same conversation. Dreams with 2 Z's. Have you ever heard of LWRC, and would you do a review on one? I have heard of them. I have no reason to buy their stuff or look them up necessarily. Focus Trip has covered a lot of LWRC stuff, I think. Wow, the next guy also asked that question, or basically, thoughts on LWRC and their DI AR-15. Price too high for a mid-budget review, too low to be a high-end budget review, or not worth the review. Rare to hear anything about them. I would encourage you guys to look up Focus Trip. He has done LWRC content. I know a couple people who have LWRC guns. They're like a cop trade-in or like contract overruns or something like that, and they say they're pretty nice. I don't think they do anything that I'm looking for personally. Hang on, wait, let's go to our internet. This is so cool. I love technology. What is it called? The M6? Yeah, the M6. Because all the other M's were taken. Wow, that is such a high-res image. Thank you, Wikipedia. You've done a great job. So if you'll look at this LWRC M6, what you'll notice is that it's a gun, just like all of the other guns. Yeah, I'm not seeing it personally. Hook, one more just to troll you with money. That's such a weird schizophrenic thing to do. But thank you, I suppose. Matt W. Hop, what was it like growing up with James Reeves as your father? Well, the thing is, I didn't know he was my father at the time, so it was more like growing up with James Reeves as my absentee father, which is the same as not growing up with James Reeves in your life at all, because he was never there. Brian Isaacs, what would your arsenal be if you were a hunter in the supernatural universe? What is the supernatural universe? Is it just the concept of supernatural occurrences? Are there rules to the supernatural universe that I should be aware of before I pick my hunting arsenal? Like, is this one of those, like, it's got to be, wood stakes and silver bullets kind of things? Or, like, white ash embedded in the hollow points? Like, what are the... I don't know. This sounds like a TV show that I probably didn't watch. So I guess I can't really answer you there. Dan Allen asks, gin or whiskey? Sure. What did Dr. House say? He's like, I don't drink sherry because I'm a gin, rum, whiskey, beer, and Scotch man, something like that. I like a gin and tonic. It makes me feel a little bit colonial when I drink it, but that's not terrible. But I think, whiskey is a more American beverage, so. Tack Rack Stovepipe asks, any experience with Minuteman musicians? They're the only affordable nice work. Subsonic 300 black, so I'm thinking about buying some. Try the AAC Subsonics. I think their 220 grain TMJ Subsonics are pretty affordable. I tried Ammo Inc. Stealth a number of times, and I could never get it to cycle because it's just way underloaded, I guess. Maybe it's cool if you had a bolt action. Minuteman munitions, no, don't know. Never shot their stuff. Almost any, like, if it's an ammo company with, like, a cool name or, like, a vibe, I haven't tried it. Dreams asks LWRC, Jesus Christ, you guys. I hope LWRC is compensating you for this work you're doing off the clock on a weekend. Brian Zimmerman asks, do you think AR-based bullpups could make bullpups more viable? I have an idea for a DI upper that's made for that purpose and has ambi ejection, but I can't draft worth shit. I've seen some of these, like, drop-in bullpup AR chassis, that work with either, like, short recoil systems, so like Descent, which is fully compact action, or like a Jackal upper, I think. PSA teased a Jackal bullpup at SHOT Show this year. Did they make it more viable? They don't make it more viable because it's kind of like all those PDW pistol chassis systems. It's a hack that's trying to quickly fill a gap in the market. What you want to do is design a new bullpup that has ample rail space and good controls. What you're going to do is create some fucking abomination that you have to drop a whole ass AR into to sort of turn it into a bullpup. And I think you get very few actual tangible benefits from that. The only thing that I think might make this compelling is that it should be cheaper. Because AR stuff is so damn cheap that you should be able to get a really cheap bullpup. And that's probably what's keeping bullpups from reaching more adoption, is that there's not a cheap one. The cheap bullpup is $1,000 Keltec, and it's a piece of garbage. No offense. But what if you could get a $600 bullpup that would, granted, also be a piece of garbage, but at least it'd be $600? People would probably do it. That's what I think. Space says, hello Hop, big fan since I've moved out of California. Hey, you could have been a fan in California. I would have been okay with that. Also, depending on where you moved to, maybe I'm not okay with it. Have you tried the RC3? No. Followed along the Pew Science testing. Didn't seem all that impressive. And also, it's a almost $2,000 suppressor. It's not for us, man. It's just not for us. So I'd say just skip it. How do I prove I'm not a bot on your Discord? You can't. Discord is closed for AIDS, but thank you for your application. It will be reviewed in the order it was received. Awesome Sean says, cheers, bottoms up.
All right.
Well, now I'm out of beer. This is a problem. Master Bratak of Chulak. This sounds Star Trek-y. What do you think of the Meprolite More for NVG bullpups? What is the problem with a laser red dot combo, and why doesn't HoloSun make one? The Meprolite More is definitely designed specifically to equip a Tavor with the bare minimum of things that you need on a fighting rifle, or modern fighting rifle, which is to say a red dot and a laser for aiming under night vision. the way the switch is set up, I think only works on a Tavor. It'd be really hard to get it onto almost anything else. But it would give you an aiming laser. It doesn't have an illuminator as far as I know, unlike a Wilcox Boss XE, but instead of costing $4,500, it costs $1,000, so that is acceptable trade-off. The problem is you probably don't really want to put an illuminator on that thing, because if it floods out at all, it's mounted too far back and it's going to splash off of the gun in your hand and all that stuff. So yeah, it's not a great system. I can see it being appealing if you're like, we have to give a laser to 1,000 guys with 1,000 rifles, and this kind of works. But for you, equipping yourself with your one rifle, I don't think it's worth doing. All right, I don't want to answer this brass facts question, so I'm going to go get another beer, and I'm going to hit the button that says break, which is supposed to show you a picture of my cat and play a funny song. Last time I did it, people said they couldn't hear the song, but some people said they maybe could. I don't know. We're gonna try it. And when I hit the button, you will not be able to see or hear me. It should just be funny song. Good luck, everybody. No song. I don't know. I can hear it in my monitor, and I can see it outputting on the little thing, but I'm not really sure why it won't play you guys the funny song. It is a really funny song. Like, dude, you have no idea what you're missing. It's really unfortunate that you don't get to experience the funny song, because I picked it specifically knowing that it would be like really, really funny for you guys to listen to. You know, while I was either peeing or grabbing another beer. So, all right, if you want to hear the song, just hit me up on Discord later. I'll play it for you. Brass facts. I was going to say asks, but no, it's not a question. It's just him being terrible. All this Elcan slander reminds me of when we first met and still liked each other. That never happened. We definitely did not like each other back then, and our relationship has not improved. Eugene Stoner's love child. What's the deal with the mounts that mount not only your optic but your pec way up off the pick rail and way back before your rail, like Goober's Group, Hydra Mount, and others? Doesn't your illuminator horribly splash off your rail? Depends. If you've got like a PEC 15 where the illuminator can be dialed in pretty tight, you know, or something with like a nice focused VXL thing, it's not going to be that bad. Again, this is one of those kind of like this was a hack for a very specific situation that probably shouldn't have caught on as broadly as it did, because my understanding is that this is a way to get all the stuff that you want onto a SIG MCX Rattler, which has a very short piece of front rail, and other longer rails for the MCX platform are bifurcated. So the rear section is actually monolithic or pseudo-monolithic, and the front section is not. It just is held in with some pins. So the front section doesn't hold zero, the rear section might hold zero. So go ahead and mount your stuff on the back or mount it on one of these super tall things. So that's a weird ass hack. None of us have that gun, I hope. We don't need that gun. And we don't have NGALs either. So none of us should be doing that. It's okay that the product exists for the people who need that product, which is not us. So don't be going and buying it. I don't know, I'm speaking for a lot of you right now without necessarily knowing a lot about your life or what guns you own. I'm just saying it's probably not for you. Cyanide asks, well, that's a cool name. Fuck yeah. Also, picked up a Magnum Research MR9 after months of people from Portland not shipping their arms list listings. Don't buy stuff from people in Portland. They are not trustworthy. Cool carry piece, or just use my G3 G17. Don't be carrying an MR9. The trigger is appealing because it's got the anti-stress thing, so you can decock the striker or whatever. Actually, no, you must decock the striker. I guess you don't have to. It's probably safe. I don't know. Part of the issue with the P99 and PPQ striker is that it's a fully precocked striker, and I think in theory a stiff impact will cause the striker to drop. At least on the MR9 and the original P99 anti-stress trigger, it drops to double action and you can still actually shoot with it. If it's on the PPQ, I think it just drops and you have a dead trigger. I don't know. The Magnum Research MR9 is awesome. It's not as stainless as you'd like it to be, and if you carry it, it's going to get rusty because you probably sweat. I mean, most people do. Yeah, don't carry it. It's kind of too cool to carry and ruin. Scare your Glock. Libertarian Neighbor just got here. Can you do a 15-second recap of what I missed? Congrats on 200K. Okay, so there was the time in the chat where somebody said a lot of like borderline illegal stuff and Randy had to kill him, and then there was that time in chat where everybody pinged me because I accidentally told them that when my name is typed in chat I can see it highlighted in orange, and then Brass Facts was here, and then it was now, and then I don't know what happened. Nate Eller, thoughts on snubby revolvers for concealed carry? It's not a lot of bullets, but it is a lot of bulk. Revolvers are just kind of fat, but they are cool. You can make a case for the pocket revolver. They're doing it again. They're just doing it again. Whatever. You can make a case for a pocket revolver, but it also sort of hinges on the fact of like, hey, look, I've already chosen to make this series of bad decisions in my life, therefore I need to make this good decision to sort of mitigate the problem. And what you've basically decided to do is like, I'm going to go to the mailbox or take the garbage out or walk down to the corner store, and I'm not putting on a belt, and I'm not putting on a holster. But what I could see myself doing is sticking a snub nose in my jacket pocket with no holster, just raw dogging it the whole way to the grocery store. And if that's the case, then yeah, you do want that to be a revolver. Like that's probably the safest way to do an unsafe activity. This doesn't mean it's necessarily a good idea, but it is a fact that you also sometimes have to play a little bit of game theory against yourself, you know. I think I've given this example before. You just be like, well, I can go ahead and buy like Snickers bars whenever I want because I just won't eat more than one. No, you won't. You'll eat more than one. So don't buy them, and then you're winning the war against yourself preemptively. So, yeah, people do dumb stuff like that. I guess it's okay. It's just life, man. And you can shoot them through a pocket. Just like Paul Harrell said. Andrew Vachon, I'm going to pronounce it different every time. I sent my Elcan to Focus Strip because I got tired of looking at it, bro. Same. Not the same. I didn't send mine to Focus Strip. I sent it to some other guy. I should have listened to you. It is usually cheaper. Then again, I have 9 Surefire Vampires, so yeah, thanks for getting me hooked. Dude, too many. I think the most Surefire Vampires I ever had at any point was 4, and I looked at them one day and I was like, what is wrong with me? And I think I'm down to 2. I think I have a 2-cell Vampire and a 1-cell Vampire, and it's fine, and I find uses for them. I'm still a Vampire guy. Sometimes people accuse me of being literally a vampire, but that's not true because those aren't real. Primo's Hunter, city living here, any reason to buy NVG versus light? We all live in cities, statistically speaking, and NVG is very, very fun. Is it super practical in the city? I don't know. Also, your phrasing of the question, NVG versus light. Well, I hope you've got a light. First of all, you just need a light. NVGs would be nice to also have. I don't know. It's expensive. It's very fun. It's a cool tool. But if we're being realistic, you would probably be a lot smarter to just spend that money on like an oil change and new tires for your car. Uchiha Tom, hope YT YouTube is paying you for this 6 ad breaks in 10 minutes. Holy shit. Wow. Well, I don't know if this is... I can't really give you sucker by this answer. And that's a real word you should look up before you get all excited. you should get YouTube Red or Premium or whatever they're calling it now. It honestly is, it's sort of like one of those weird TV subscriptions, but it's actually useful because, let's be honest, you watch a lot of YouTube and you probably don't watch a lot of HBO Max or Disney. And then you just don't have to watch ads at all. So consider that the most precious resource in your life is time, because you can always make more money, but you cannot make more time unless you like eat well and exercise, and that's not going to happen. Hanuman Durina, congrats on 200K. Been here since you were a hoplophile. I'm still a hoplophile. YouTube/C/hoplophile. Still there. What are your thoughts on the MCX and the Spear LT? Are they just another AR-15/18 cousin, or do they represent something different? They're not that different. The reason to go with a system like that is quick adjust gas regulator, maybe, which is borderline because you can get that on anything now, or folding stock, which for transport, cool. Otherwise, don't. It's worth way less than people sell it as. So yeah, they're nice. Why the hell is Forgotten Weapons Jordan spamming chat, dude? I'm gonna make you a fucking mod for this. You son of a bitch. What an asshole. Now he's a fucking blue wrench. Get wrecked, Jordan. Yeah, folding stocks. Wow, so cool. Then like, what do you do after that? You unfold the stock and then you start shooting the gun and you're like, wow, this is really bad, because folding stocks are terrible. They're cool guns, but they're expensive and they don't actually do stuff you need. Saberwolf, was Stargate wrong from switching from MP5 to P90? What is the correct modern firearm against aliens? Aliens may actually pose a credible threat of wearing body armor that you want a high velocity cartridge, a body armor penetrating cartridge like 5.7 for. So yes, when confronted suddenly with the possibility that you might be going up against an enemy with a higher tech level than you, you probably do want 5.7, and 9mm just ain't gonna cut it. And the MP5 is also fat and gross. So yes, Stargate was 100% correct to switch to the P90. Because for years before that, I assume, it was sort of like, well, aliens could exist. We got this little like rock circle. It won't do anything. And then what's his ass came along and was like, oh, you got to turn the seventh thingy on its side, and then the whole thing activates and you go to Orion or whatever. I can't remember how that movie goes. It's been a long time. And show. I know there was a show too. Stephen B, thoughts on TAC Pack? I don't know what that means. If it's one of those subscription services where you get stuff every month, don't do it. None of those are ever worth anything, because you don't need that much stuff. Also, you should pick your own stuff. Other people don't know what stuff you want. Just Howls, if you could have any historical firearm not easily available today, which would you choose? The answer I always go to is the AMT On Duty. It's not even that historical. It's from the late 80s, early 90s, I think. But it was just produced in such vanishingly small quantities that I don't think anybody will ever have one. And I certainly won't. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know, man. Truly historical firearms, like the ones that you know about, from watching Forgotten Weapons. Haha, Jordan, you asshole. Those are so enjoyable to learn about in a YouTube video. Like, I get plenty of enjoyment about that stuff from watching an Ian McCollum video. I'm like, that's so cool. I love the history. I love seeing that gun or whatever. I don't want that. I don't even really want to shoot it that bad. Certainly don't want to own it. So for me, yeah, it is really, I'm a fucking hipster. I grant you that. But yeah, the stuff that I want was the stuff that was so wildly unpopular that nobody bought them, and they're impossible to find now. Like historical stuff, like even rare, like FG42, a full auto FG42 is easy to find. It's just hard to afford. Doesn't matter how much money you've got. Go buy an AMT On Duty right now. They made like 6 of them, and probably half of them were in 40 Smith & Wesson and probably cracked the frames immediately, so those are gone. So there's 3 left maybe in the whole country. Like, come on. You can't put a price on that. Bastion Cash, I hope this ends soon. God. No offense. Currently running a 14.5 with an EOTech 512 and a Loophole D Evo. I love it, but what do you think a Gen 2 Devo needs or could be? A Gen 2 D Evo would be a lump of aluminum that you can turn back into the bottle recycling plant and get your fucking money back. The concept is as good as it could be. I think Loophole essentially executed the concept. It just wasn't a great concept. The only thing that I suggested in my video was that they probably should have gone with a 4 power instead of a 6, just because you could have ended up with a much more forgiving eye box or whatever. But just the concept of periscoping the light around to the side of your optic, like, it fucks your gun up. It is hard to use. It's incredibly niche. Ultimately, it's just better to go with an RMR on an ACOG than it is to go with a D Evo. So instead of a Gen 2, wow, my camera just broke. That was fun. Instead of a Gen 2 D Evo, they should do nothing. Also, the guy who designed it doesn't work there anymore, so they're already SOL. Brian Zimmerman, I think this guy just won't stop asking questions. What a guy. Jumping off my bullpup design idea, so designing a lower as well would be a good idea. A complete cheap rifle would exist, but people could use existing chassis systems if they wanted. Yeah, so your bullpup AR chassis idea, probably almost any new gun you design now, if you really want to try to make it like affordable and easier to design, you just like reuse almost every single part from the AR because they're ubiquitous, cheap, and we all know that they work. You lose a lot by taking a whole existing gun and putting it into a chassis. You end up with a real kludge, extra weight because of all the extra material or whatever. If your chassis could just mimic the AR lower in the ways that were important in order to give you AR mag release button, AR safety and trigger, fire control group, whatever. Okay. Now you're now that's smart reuse of the AR platform instead of dumb reuse of the AR platform, which is where you have a whole AR and then more bullshit on top of it to turn it into a bullpup. That's what Russia did with the Groza. It's a whole-ass AK inside of some extra shit, so it ends up being kind of crappy, as opposed to an actual, like, gun. Why is my camera... Whatever. McNature Boy, for a PDW, what cheap IR illuminator should I pair with my crappy Tor Mini? As far as cheap goes, that's like the best argument I can think of for the Enforced WML Gen 3s. It's not a great weapon light, and it's not great as far as like the IR output goes, but it's less than $150, and you've got white light and IR and an integrated switch, and you can also rotate the head a quarter turn to like safe the thing. So like, if you're just like, I want some IR on this gun, how do I do it? Enforced WML. Just make sure you get the white IR version, not the white only version, or you're going to be like, whoops. Kimbo Sice. Why do Redditors have such a hard-on for OCL poloniums? Good question. I like the OCL polonium because it's affordable, really quiet, and it goes very well with like a Reardon Plan B system. I could also just go with like a YHM Turbo K or Turbo T3. I think they'd be pretty similar cans. They're quiet, traditional designs. They're incredibly durable because they're welded and they're thick and they're very gassy. Whatever. You could kind of go either way. Otter Creek Labs just is a fun company because they talk shit and their owner has like, I think, a lifted 4x4 Camaro or something. Like, that's a cool, Reddit loves cult of personality and OCL has personality. And then also, let's be honest, there have been accusations of OCL upper management being furries, and Reddit, of course, is going to be on top of that. I can't speak more to that because I don't actually know. It's just rumors and innuendo. Bepis Badbongos, the man who started the evening, says, how the hell is your hair so beautiful? I'm not seeing it, man. Also, it's mirrored, so I can't. It's backwards. Invisisight, Dan Allen, Invisisight Engall review. Nope, we don't do that anymore. We're done with airsoft toys. We're sick of that shit. But what I can tell you we are going to do is this. This is the AMMJ Penumbra. It's backwards, so it's all fucked up. This is very cool. Airsoft grade or toy grade knockoffs of real lasers are just not that cool. Also, PSI, EDC, and MR9 Eagle. All right. It's pretty badass. Just keep it clean. Don't let it rust, because it will. Saber Wolf. Coming to Dragon Man's Freedom Shoot in September. I don't know what any of those words mean, dude. Isn't Dragon Man the guy from the lolcow from Germany? Like, people show up to his house and throw rocks at him and he yells at him? John Crump News says, congrats. Thank you. I think you also said some shit in the chat and got banned, so... Oops. Space Hop, can you rate my build in guns in Discord? Oh, shit. Alright, hang on. We're going to try to use technology here to find his gun in Discord. Copy link. Hang on, guys. We're doing technology. Give me a second. And then what do we paste the link? And then go to the link. Oh, thank God it wasn't porn. That would have been weird. Let's see. And then this, and then that guy, and then... Uh-oh. Alright, this is Space's build, you guys. We're about to rate it. Alright, so what do we got here? We've got a Daniel Defense that still has Daniel Defense furniture on it. So that's a 0 out of 10. Because there's no way anybody likes that shit. Oh, but it's got a flatline fiber sling, so now you've just gained back a lot of points. Okay, you've got a Cloud Defensive Light, so you just lost a bunch of points. You've got one of those weird, like, gastric bypass bands on the handguard holding the sling together. Loss of serious points. Daniel Defense Boob Mag. Loss of points. HRF Magwell. I hope that's a real HRF Magwell. Yes, I think so. Gain of points. And then we got an EOTech and a magnifier that looks like a G45, which is my least favorite one, but it still could be worse. So all in all, also because you bought a quad rail, even though you definitely should not have, then you had to, of course, go through the whole experience of how do you put a sling mount on a quad rail, and it turns out they're all terrible. So that's not fun either. And then you got a paraclip on there. Paraclip's normally very cool. Paraclip normally very based. In this application, paraclip not good. Loss of points. So I give this build a 2 out of 10. Randy says Surefire RC3 is 0 out of 10. All right. Sorry, man. I was going to give you a couple points, but Randy says 0 out of 10, so that sucks, man. Better luck next time. Compulsive Gun Buyer, just here for the face reveal. You guys should go check out his channel, by the way. I don't think he's like 100% like I'm going to be content man or whatever. I think it is kind of still a fun job for him or whatever. But great channel, awesome dude. So check him out. I don't think he like posts multiple times a week or anything, but it's always good stuff. Primo's Hunter, is there a situation where body armor makes sense for an average Joe? The only reason I want it is because the government doesn't want me to. This is, I think I've given this answer like 6 times tonight. It depends on what your favorite type of SHTF fantasy is. Because some of them it makes a lot of sense, some of them it does not. You really just have to, you got to make it up on your own, pretty much. Body armor in a home invasion scenario? Probably not. Body armor community checkpoint in like a medium to long-term disaster scenario? Maybe. Again, kind of hard to say for sure. You know, I think people are like, hey, if Katrina happened again, we'd be like, you know, guarding the block against looters or whatever. But you also remember that a pretty substantial portion of the populace makes fun of everybody who stayed behind during Katrina and then a couple of weeks later was like on the roof like, please help me. I don't know, man. I'm not going to tell you to like trust that the government is going to evacuate you in a safe and respectful manner, but standing around outside with body armor on during a hurricane, probably not a good idea. But no, you should totally have body armor because it's cool. And also, anything that you do while wearing body armor is like extra good for you because you've seen Dragon Ball Z, you know how training weights work. No says, is the acro bad now? Want to replace RMR on duty staccato setup. Also tell Brassfax to hurry on the P365 Flux Raider review before I buy a scalp one. We'll never buy a scalped anything because that's just drip/drop/hype culture out of control, and that's terrible. Is the acro bad now? No. The acro was bad always, but people are starting to realize it now because authoritative voices like Ben Steger are giving them the truth, I guess. Yes, people who don't fall for like the premium grift knew the acro was bad the entire time. It was just that, you know, you bought it, as you say, duty staccato. You have a staccato. It's an expensive gun. This is exactly what Ben Steger, I think, has talked about, which is like you don't want to put the $400 optic on your gun. You want to put the $500 optic on your gun because it's a $1,000 gun. It deserves the best optic, right? Aim points shouldn't cost that much. They're imported, cost of labor, whatever. I don't even think they cost that much in fucking Sweden. So pretend that the price point doesn't exist. That's not a great way to evaluate a product. The acro is the best because it's the most expensive. Well, the RCR is the best because it's the most expensive because the prices haven't fallen. When you find them in stock on Primary Arms, they're like $800 fucking dollars. The RCR is a substantially better optic than an acro, despite the fact that it's literally just an RMR with 2 panes of glass. Like, it's still blue, it's still distorted, it has exactly the same brightness and night vision performance, and it's got a big ass bulky body, and it's not forged anymore. I think it's milled, and it's got those weird capstan screws to attach it because that's the only way they could figure out how to get it on without modifying the footprint. The RCR is a weird optic, and it's way better than an acro. But hey, fucking get one anyway, dude, because it's square and it's the right optic to put on a staccato. Otherwise, people will make fun of you for not having an acro. And as a staccato owner, your biggest fear in life is being made fun of, I'm pretty sure. Andrew Vajon, this guy won't stop talking. Extending torture, oh, well, at least he's upfront about it. Wanted to hear another pronunciation. Hope I got another one and not just a variation on the last one. Ever get your hands on an EOLAD? No, not yet. They show up for sale pretty regularly. I guess they must have been either common enough or like people who bought them were like, yeah, this is definitely something I should resell later. But they're always like $2,500. And then, yeah, what am I going to be like on tax swap trying to sell an EOLAD for like $1,600 and nobody will bite? And I'll be like, dude, I'm taking a massive bath on this one. Please, please, please. It's just a terrible idea because I already know what it is, which is a Steiner laser. I have plenty of experience with those. Bolted to a Neotech. I have plenty of experience with those. I know what's going to happen if I got an EOLAD. It's exactly the experiences I've had with both of those products before. I could do a pretty good job of guessing what an EOLAD is like. It's not worth $2,500 for me to do that. View at your own risk says, with the current interest in PDW-style weapons, why does it seem like the bottleneck pistol cartridges are getting ignored, 357 SIG, 9x25, etc.? So the thing you got to know about those cartridges, 357 SIG, it gives you the capacity of 40 Smith & Wesson, the recoil of 40 Smith & Wesson, and the terminal performance of 9x19, because pistol bullets don't go that fast. Same thing with 9x25 Dillon. In order to hit the velocity thresholds to create explosive cavitation or massive wounding potential beyond what a pistol caliber is normally capable of, you've got to be pushing like 2,300, 2,400 feet per second. You can't do that with 357 SIG. Maybe you can from a 6-inch barrel, which you don't have. Nobody has that. And it has to be an extremely light for caliber bullet. We're talking like a 65 grain projectile in a 357 SIG. And a contact shot from that will be at like 2320 or something. I can't remember. I ran the numbers on this a while back because it was hilarious to me. So if you put the gun to someone's head and pull the trigger, you'll get explosive cavitation because it will be going 2,319 feet per second by the time it hits them. That's just not that's not actually compelling. Similar story with 9x25 Dylan. It's slightly faster. But yeah, like the threshold of velocity that you have to hit is insane. The ammunition you have to use is so fucking stupid. Somebody in chat just pointed it out. 50 grain hollow point that hits 2,300 feet per second out of a 4-inch. Yeah, it's like those the Halo point. They can't call it that anymore. Liberty Defense or Liberty Ammunition Civil Defense, whatever it is. It used to be called Halo Point, and they used to use the font from like Halo, the game, and Microsoft was like, look, that's so illegal. You can't do that, and they had to stop. But that ammo is not effective. Like, that's not how ammo works. But it does go really fast for like a bit. But it's a fucking ashtray, and it doesn't have good sectional density because it's extremely lightweight, but still really fucking wide. So, you know, if your target is 10 feet away, you've already fallen well below the threshold. It's a bad idea. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. 40 Smith & Wesson PDW would be a much better idea than 357 SIG PDW or 9x25 Dylan PDW. Probably better than 5.7 by 28 PDW. No offense. Tony, 1776. Oh, this man's a patriot. How much dollar minimum to get into night vision? I have not done like a real survey of what the night vision market is looking like right now. I know it's more expensive than it has been, but also I think now's a good time to buy used night vision because the market did get flooded with night vision, and there's a lot of guys who are now ready to upgrade from their monos to some set of duals or whatever. So even though like the base price of like a new production, because remember it's civilian night vision market, so it's all like reject tubes and housings cobbled together by dudes in a garage. But like a new warranted night vision device, like when I started reviewing night vision, it would be like $2,200 for like a Gen 3 unit or whatever. Now it's more like $2,700 or whatever. But there are still plenty of gently used Generation 3 green phosphor PVS 14s on the market for like around $2,000 maybe, like pretty cheap. And that's still the good buy. The problem is, yeah, when it becomes the used market, like I don't know. You might be one of those guys who lucks out and like has a friend or like a boomer at a gun show or something like that who will sell you like a legit Gen 3 Omni 4 Plus night vision device for like $1,400, $1,200, whatever. You might score that deal. Most of the time you probably won't. You probably can, with a little bit of patience, still get like a good, Gen 3 PVS 14 for like around $2,000, maybe a little bit more. If you just look at the brand new market, yeah, it's gone up a lot. So yeah, how much minimum to get into night vision? Depends on what your minimum is. Gen 2 also stopped being cheap, aside from the Chinese units. And then, of course, like the night vision device is really about like 60% of the puzzle, because then you need mount, you need shroud, you need helmet, you need laser, you need passive compatible optic and that sort of stuff. So I'm not going to put a number on it because it would be wrong. But the used market for night vision is still doable. You just got to be patient and you got to vet who you're buying from. Neck one eye. Hey Hop, UK viewer trying to jump from the 22 long rifle train. Do you have any recommendations for manual bolt rifles with an intermediate cartridge? Cheers for the content, carrying me through shifts as well. This is way outside my wheelhouse, dude. Manual bolt rifles with an intermediate cartridge. I don't actually know like fully what's available to you. I think is it more than just manual, like bolt action? Is it also magazine fed restrictions? Because if you like wanted a 5.56 rifle, could you get a Ruger American, for example, which is box mag fed? It's bolt action. If you had 5 or 10 round magazines, would it be cool? Like I honestly, I don't know. And I also don't know exactly what your like caliber scene is like. I really love 6.5 Grendel. I've got a Ruger American build that I put together in 6.5 Grendel, and I think it's awesome as like a bolt action in 6.5. Does that cartridge even exist over there? You don't have Bill Alexander, so it would surprise me if it did. I don't know. The Bub says, just hopped in, but thoughts on Viper Gen 2E and URX 3.1. Is Gen 2E a real thing? Did you make that up? Is that like aspirational? Like you want that to exist? Like a lightened Viper Gen 2? Is that a real thing? Or are you talking about Razor Gen 2E? I don't know. The rumor on the street is that Vortex surely will be releasing like a new, like a Viper PSD Gen 3 or something like that soon, which should be lighter and have better turret design or something than the current Vipers. But I don't know. You've confused me. Also, URX 3.1, sure. If you put a Knight's rail on a non-Knight's gun, it's pretty cringe, but if you buy a complete Knight's gun, it's even worse, so I'm not really sure what to tell you. Primo's Hunter, have you ever tried to sell a more expensive gun? I've noticed that it's damn near impossible to sell anything over 1K. Last question, you're awesome. That's not a question. Not sure why you guys have such a hard time with the precepts of English grammar. Have you ever tried to sell a more expensive gun? Yeah, I've sold a pretty, well, more expensive. By my standards, is like over $1,000. Not like a fucking Knight's URX 3 with a Viper Gen 2E, if that's even a real thing. In my experience, it's actually easier to sell more expensive stuff because provided you find the interested party, they're more willing to buy it. It's the smaller stuff where it's like, do I take this to a pawn shop and leave it on their front, like, or put it in their, like, their baby safe surrender slot or something like that? Or do I try to find a gun buyback so I can get a $50 Walmart card? That shit's impossible to get rid of. At least in Oregon, where we have now a universal background check, so you can't just like meet a guy in the parking lot of a Walmart and be like, hey, can I interest you in 6 Sky pistols for $75 a pop? Yeah, I don't know. As the rule of selling is always like, if you want to sell it fast, you're going to have to take a bath on it. But remember, there's opportunity cost. What could you be doing with that money instead of just having it sit there in your gun safe? I don't know. Con Deer. Hopes for Holosun Iris/civilian OGL to fix LAM market. Or will you and Brass make the long-awaited laser box? Are lasers always going to suck? The OGL seemed like the perfect laser, and then they just don't make it. I don't know what's wrong. The Holosun Iris, they did go through a Gen 2 revision, and it looks better. So it's like, well, maybe it's good that they delayed it a little bit because the new version looks way better. But it also still isn't out, and we were really hoping it would be out. And you got stuff like this, like the Penumbra. This remains to be tested. I haven't done much more than turn this on one time, so we'll see how that works. The thing that we really want is just acceptable performance, acceptable quality, and acceptable price. Like, we're not, if money was no object, you could just go buy a Raid XE civilian legal and it's going to do everything that you want. The problem is it's going to cost $3,500. We know it shouldn't necessarily cost that much to get acceptable quality because there shouldn't really be any technology difference between a Holosun LS321 Civ power and Mil power. So really what we want is the ability to just buy a Holosun LS321 with a military power level or a law enforcement power level for a similar price. And of course that's not going to happen. So then they're forced to redesign it using VCSEL or LED emitters. And then the FDA is just going to be like, no, that doesn't count. That's not a food. You can't sell that. So between me and Brassfax is an engineer and his friends are smart, so one of them might make a laser box. I'm certainly not going to do it. Eugene Stoner's love child, can you please expand upon, besides being overpriced, why the acro is a bad optic? Because the using experience of a functioning acro is very poor, because you have a small circular window inside of a big box. So it's basically an occluded optic, even if you didn't want one. So just using it sucks. It's also just big, and if you want to like put on a carry gun, it just like starts showing up. So let's assume that it works. It's not great. But then let's assume that it doesn't work, because in fact it does not, because the nitrogen falls out and the water goes inside and the glass is like all breaking all the fucking time. So there has been an obscene number of acro failures, even not just the P1, which we all knew had a shitty battery. The P2 is just like failing at prodigious rates. It's insane. Meanwhile, the Holosun EPS is like the best product they've ever made, where like very few people have issues with the EPS. comparatively. And considering the price difference and the availability difference, that the EPS has been available and shipping for a long time, and the acro was like hard to get. The fact that there have been so many failed acros relative to failed EPSs should tell you something. That Aimpoint is not invincible. And it's possible that they're just not having an easy time adjusting to pistol-mounted optics. Like, it's a totally different type of thing than they've done before. Trigicon's been doing it for like over a decade. Holosun's been doing it for a while. Aimpoint was like, maybe we could do this. And the answer was no, they can't. Primo's Hunter, I'm from WV. Please apologize for my grammar. Oh, that's okay. I didn't realize. Yeah, they don't have education over there yet, but we're working to get it to you. Jacob Newhouse, Hop, love the stuff. Have you had any time on the Springfield Echelon and any thoughts on it? I have not shot a Springfield Echelon. I've played with them at trade shows, and conceptually and like, you know, features on paper, whatever, it seems like a great handgun. And then I get one in my hand and I feel it. I'm like, this feels like garbage. This is like, doesn't feel like a nice gun. Compared to like the PDP, you know, the Walther PDP is not my favorite gun or whatever, but I can definitely see why people like it, because it feels really well made and really well thought out, and it has some features that people like. The Echelon just seems really good on paper, and then you touch it and you're like, oh, what the hell? This doesn't seem right. Joshua Erickson, who I assume is Holosun Josh, the man himself, the product photography wizard. You guys, I don't know, follow him on Instagram, Holosun Josh. He's got this fucking like light box and telephoto lens set up to take pictures of Holosun shit. It's so fucking cool. He says DRS-TH is going out next week for you to get some time with. That's cool. That thing has been on the radar for like a couple years. Iris will be within the next month. FDA is being a pain. # soon. All right. You guys are free to hold him to that. Iris next month. It's happening. Primo's Hunter. Again, stop, dude. Is this what talking to a cam girl feels like? No, because unlike a cam girl, I actually love you. Odysseus, son of Laertes. Whisper sweet nothings into my ear about MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries, the greatest game of my childhood. By the way, your eyebrows make you look like a Morrowind character. Hugs and kisses. Usually I get compared to the gay cat in the blue dress from the not sci-fi, the like what is it called? Is it Isekai? Is it where you get like hit by a truck and go to another planet? Someone knows what I'm talking about. That one, the gay cat from that one, because he doesn't have full eyebrows. MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries is... It's down there. Can you see it? Nice. Justin Whitaker, stop sending super chats, please. I want to stop streaming now. Favorite dedicated 5.56 suppressor in the sub $750 range, not including stamp. Definitely OCL Polonium K. Depending on the host, I still kind of find myself really wanting a YHM Turbo KRB. Because with either an SRX or a direct thread mount, that thing weighs like about 10 to 11 ounces, and it's really short, and it's pretty quiet because it is a traditional dedicated 5.56 K can, so like it's actually reasonably quiet. And like on a 16-inch gun, oh man. Yeah, I think those would be my two go-tos. Like I haven't tested, obviously. It's hard to test suppressors because they're expensive and, you know, tax stamps, and then they take a little while to like put together and buy mounts for and shit like that. So yeah, I don't know. I've tested a handful of suppressors, more than a lot of people, but still I don't have experience with the whole market. But I can tell you from experience that Turbo Ks and Polonium Ks sound pretty nice and are built like a fucking tank. Sleepy Guy, have you played with the rifle speed dissipator on a 300 blackout gun? Is there enough adjustment to go between supers and subs while keeping them both working? I have not done a 300 blackout build. I know Wolfpack Armory does like pre-built 300 blackout builds with the rifle speed. The big issue with 300 blackout is that it's always pistol gas. Doesn't matter what barrel length you choose, between 5 inches and 16 inches, it's pistol length gas. which means that in order to access that rifle speed, you're going to need a cutout. And that's the thing that Wolfpack does. They do a cutout in the rail. Less appealing, but still an option. So I'm assuming that there is enough gas adjustment to make that stuff work. Now, if it's like I want it to be perfectly gassed, maybe. I don't know if you're going to get perfect gassing at both extremes if you play with the different like pistons or plungers or whatever that come with the rifle speed, or you can buy additional ones. You can find the range that'll work after a little bit of tuning. Also, there's a channel called, I'm not going to pronounce it right, Eitris, EITRIS Enhancements. They do a lot of 300 blackout stuff, and they have a video about properly using a 300 blackout gun with a bootleg adjustable BCG, like how to tune that. And that is a pretty quick fix as well. A lot of my 300 blackout guns just end up being overgassed with supers, and I'm like, fuck it. Winter, have a spec war. What suppressor would you suggest? Spec war is a type of suppressor. So are you talking about a spec war firearm? Let's just Google the word spec war. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Hang on. I'm not in internet mode. Oh, wow. So this could just be fucking anything, right? Could be an LMT. Let's assume it's an LMT. People like LMT for some reason. What suppressor would I suggest for a spec war? Yeah, Polo K or Turbo T3 or Turbo KRB. Solid Snake, my favorite gun tube lesbian. Oh, thank you. That's so kind. Teddy, 2 guns, Glock 20, love it, my EDC. That's Bear Country carry right there. New division, please buy a P90 so you can tell me how much you hate it. Also, do you know who Sam Hyde is? I know about and of Sam Hyde, but I've never met him. P90, I did have a P90, but it was a Ruger P90, and I think you're talking about the other kind. Just another house cat. Why is Aero Precision slow at developing things? I bought their suppressor and not a peep of their QD system, not even different can end caps. Yeah, I don't know. I think they might have decided to do too many projects at the same time because they're working on the bolt action stuff. They have the suppressor, which is fairly new to their catalog, and they started adding a QD mount system, and they wanted to do end caps for it. And they started doing the Pro lineup, which is a whole new lower and a whole new set of uppers, like new barrels, new handguards, all that shit. So they might just be doing too much stuff all at the same time. And if I had to guess, I'd say that the focus is going into the Solus, the bolt action. And then after that, the Pro series. And then after that, I bet the suppressor stuff is at the back end. So that's my guess. Dr. Noblex asks, thoughts on the Trijicon Tri-Power? You're going to have to ask Zombie in the Discord. I think he's got one. Kind of cool. The problems that I understand is, 1, the battery life is like 8 hours, which is just doesn't hardly seem like enough. 2, when you turn the battery powered illumination on, the entire fiber optic ring on top of the optic glows because it's all just one system, which is why they've got that weird rubber, like it's like a POG. No, it's not a POG. What am I thinking of? You know those like things when you're a kid, it's like a little rubber dome and you flip it inside out and you set it on the ground, and then after a while like it bounces up in the air. It's one of those, a weird little like bouncy rubber nipple thing. It's not a good optic, which is why they don't make it anymore. If it was good, they'd still make it. It's Trijicon after all. They don't ever stop making anything unless they have to. Fred Hart the third, B&T SRBS good for X95. Are B&T cans ever good? I don't know. You're gonna have to ask Randy about that. They don't have a good reputation, as I think most European suppressors do not. It is a reduced / low back pressure suppressor, and the X95 does sort of demand one of those. I guess the question is, are you like getting anything over going with Hux Flow? Because if they're even close to the same price, I feel like you would be an insane person to get an SRBS over a Hux Flow. That's my theory. Randy may chime in, or he may have gone to bed because this has gone on way too long, and once Window Lick got deputized, and then Jordan from Forgotten Weapons got deputized, I guess he didn't really have any work to do anymore. All right, we've caught up. We're stopping. No. Damn it. Sam Cooper, what kind of food does Sacco get? He just gets like the Friskies dry food. I've tried giving him wet food, and he kind of doesn't really like it that much. I think he's a dry food cat, which is actually good for me. Like, he's not a picky cat. Also, sometimes he kills mice and brings me tails. So I guess that motherfucker will eat anything. Jesus Christ. Dr. Noblex, are you going to any events within the local area? Probably not. Unless Paul Harrell shows up at the Rick Riel gun show again, but I don't think it's something he's going to do unless he makes a turn for the healthier. But, yeah. Anyway, all right, stop sending chats now, please. Thank you. I'm going to try to turn the thing back to normal. And just look at the chat, the regular-ass chat for a moment here, okay? Because we're almost done. Surely we're almost done. Just go ahead and look in the chat for all of the orange highlighted word hop. Blue says, Discord is closed for AIDS. That's true. Listen to the man. He's a smart man. He knows. We do have a Discord, but there was an outbreak of AIDS and we had to close it. Donovan asked, do you think shotguns are more viable or necessary because of drones? I don't know. If they're just observation drones, you're not going to be shooting them with a shotgun. If they're explosive, kill you by running into you with a grenade-attached drones, then yeah, you might want a shotgun, man. That's just the horrors of modern warfare. Can you do a video on how to assess the NIR performance of kit, since it's usually not advertised well? That's a real slippery slope there. NIR performance is not well understood. People tend to think like it has to do with camouflage patterns, but it's almost always just material. So like you could have a multicam windbreaker and it's because it's got to be a little bit waterproof, it's got to be a little bit plasticized or rubberized or whatever, and it's going to reflect like a motherfucker. Whereas a pair of like cotton Realtree pants is going to be jet black under nods because it doesn't reflect at all. So people tend to assume that reflecting any amount of IR is bad, like it fails IR compliance, but the reality is that most of the stuff in nature reflects IR to some extent. So like if you go into the grass and you're wearing something that doesn't reflect IR at all, then you're going to be jet black in a field of like bright white, because grass does reflect, you know, trees reflect to some extent. So you're right, that should be a video. You're right. My bad, dude. Got a follow-up from Neki, the UK guy. UK-wise gun laws are, as long as you're licensed, quite lax. Just stay above a certain length and be manually operated. Ooh, if you ever want to make your day worse, give Land Warrior Rifle Club a look. I will have to look that up. If you want a bolt-action center-fire gun in like just a normal, affordable, practical caliber, then yeah, Ruger American 5.56 or something. Those are fun to shoot. Cetus has made like some real performance gains out of his just a Ruger American with a decent optic. It's like LPVO on a Ruger American in 5.56, and he runs competition and stuff with it, and like works really well. All right, we're gonna call it there. That's going to be it. Except for JP says, stop calling me Shirley. I'm gonna call you whatever I want because it's my show. And people asking about Sacco. He's out hunting. He found he heard a mouse earlier. I could tell he was like waiting by the crawl space. So he definitely heard some shit. Oh, Just Mike says, I'm in your walls. Yeah, and my cat's going to kill you. Like he's been waiting outside for you to come out. And when you do, he's just going to, and he'll bring me your tail. Severed from your body. Maybe an organ. One time he brought me a pair of kidneys attached by an artery. That was pretty cool. I'm sure he's working up to a pancreas. All right. God damn it. People, stop talking. Do you like the BRN 180? No, I don't. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for showing up to the chat. Thank you for your continued support via viewing and subscribing and Subscribestar and all that sort of stuff. People asking when is the next stream? I don't know. I guess 500,000 subscribers is probably a good mark, but I know I'm not going to get there, so don't worry about it. But hey, I don't know. Like I post new videos all the time, like usually once a week, so you can just watch those. All right, goodbye.